was actually banned from running events in Sydney Harbour.
So you literally go from running the biggest events in Australia to getting banned.
And zero income. It was a nightmare. It was called The Island. 3,000 people. Best event. 2 minutes before the end, 2 kids. Oh, are you kidding me? Not this again.
What do you think holds most people back from finding their purpose?
Fear of facing the reality of where they're at. We didn't have money.
I realised that as a 36-year-old man, I literally have 9 years left at top level.
Oh, man. Be kind, man. Kindness beats everything. If you believe it will happen, it will happen. Everybody told me I couldn't do this.
What year is this?
2016.
There'll be a lot of people listening to this that are limited in their life right now because they're potentially listening to other people's opinions on them. What would your advice be?
My advice would be, no matter what you do, people are going to judge you.
And we are back. And today, guys, I am bringing you another Australian first for this podcast. I'm bringing you the man behind the viral restaurant sensation, Milky Lane, Christian Avant. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Frankie. I've wanted to do one for a while and just wanted to get the right time.
Yes, mate. It's been one of these podcasts that I reckon we've been talking about for the last 2.5, 3 years to get it done. But mate, your story's wild. Like, the brand's gone from 0 to 35 million turnover inside, a short period of time, few years. I want to take, before we introduce people to the brand and what you've done inside the brand and what's made it so successful, I want to introduce people to you first and foremost, because obviously you grew up early days in the UK. Your dad was a MotoGP driver, cyclist, whatever you call them. And you moved to Australia, right?
I did.
So talk me through that whole journey of you leaving your life behind in the UK, coming to Australia and the early days.
I was really young when that happened. So Dad was a MotoGP racer, as you said. He was travelling the world. I was born and he just kind of, the dangers involved with that were too much for him. So he gave that up. He met my mum. We moved out here when I was 4 years old. My parents didn't have a lot. And my dad started work out here. So I grew up in, quite just a normal suburb, went to a public school most of my life. My dad got into the tyre industry and started running his own business, which he then took over. So I was kind of just living a very basic life during my youth. I kind of got caught up with, some of the wrong crowd, as people do, as I was growing up. That my parents kind of just saw that I think that there was more in me than kind of being there around these sorts of people, because there was just, bad outcomes happening. So my parents kind of got me out of that.
What were some of the bad outcomes that were happening around your childhood and the other kids?
The people, I was like, I had a normal youth to the extent where the pinnacle was riding my BMX out on the street until the lights come on. You know what I mean? But, some of the kids I was hanging around with stealing cars, breaking into homes. And my parents were aware of that. And this was probably, would have been 10, 11, 12, 13 at this point. I was getting drunk at 12 years old out the back of the shopping centre with the boys, you know what I mean, and getting people to buy me hip flasks of Jim Beam at 12 years old, you know what I mean. And I think that whilst, that was all my parents could provide for me at that point, was living there. They didn't have money to move out of the area.
Yeah.
They just knew that, I think that there was more in me. So at the end of year 10, my parents moved over to the eastern suburbs. Super affluent area, beautiful home. My dad was just a really hard worker. He would work 6-7 days a week, provide for myself and my mum. And, that was instilled into me. So I went to a private school, Scots College, one of the top schools in Australia. Did my last 2 years of my education there, single-sex school. So it was completely different to what I'd been used to, mate, growing up in a co-ed. Yeah. Half your high school years are spent chasing the opposite sex, and it was really good for me to feel that environment there, be around people that I felt like were going to really do good things.
Yeah. And that, did a lot of the people that went to that school, did you find a lot of them went on to do good things, or did you find a lot of them went down the wrong path?
Not so much. No, that's the thing, because a lot of smart kids, a lot of really intellectual kids that would finish the HSC with these crazy scores and whatnot. But they didn't have to work. They didn't have to grind. They were trust fund kids that came from really wealthy families. And it's quite funny, like every now and then I'll bump into a few that I went to school with, and I think, I'm looking quite all right considering. And, a lot of them are, been battling drug addictions for 20 years and haven't really had a proper job because they've just got so much backing that they've never had to go out into the real world. So whilst a lot of people would go, oh my God, that's a blessing, you know what I mean? You've got family money. I've seen it not go that way.
It's kind of almost a blessing to you that you got to see your dad just go out and work and build the business so that he could then send his son to the better school. So you've watched him put the work ethic in, so you understand what's behind you going to that school, so you can appreciate it. Whereas I think the other lads potentially at your time, they just come from generational money, and that's why it wasn't appreciated as much.
I couldn't agree more. I saw my dad, as I said, working crazy hours just to put food on the table for me and mum, and he built quite a good life for himself. So at that point, I was super rich to the kids that I grew up with, but to the people that I was friends with now, I was literally at the bottom tier of family wealth. Right. But my dad still gave me everything he could. He would give me the shirt off his back, and it's something that I saw growing up, and that's passed over into what I want to do. For me, the ultimate fulfillment is to look after a family and to be able to provide and put food on the table. Yeah.
Is that what you're striving for every day when you get up, when you chase this brand?
That is a huge motivation for me. And whilst my parents obviously still have some money, they did quite well. My dad did well. I want to be able to take care of them. As they're getting older now, I want to be able to give back to them. Every opportunity I had growing up was because of my dad. So people say that, it was handed to you on a silver platter, and I don't necessarily agree with that, because trust me, there is no bigger weight on your conscience, than, potentially owing money to your dad or borrowing money from family. You know what I mean? For me, that's like, I did have opportunity, but I also had to turn it into something. It wasn't just free money.
Yeah. So you as soon as any money's given to you, you feel like there has to be, like, you have to go and do something purposeful.
Obligation to just level up when, my parents have always believed in my ability, and that's been my number one thing. And for me, my kind of, 20s and, getting out of school and stuff like that, it was wild, man. I was left school, went to university for 2 years, did marketing. I feel like that was just kind of also to keep my parents happy. Whilst I've obviously had an avid interest in marketing, I was working in nightclubs at the time. So I was promoting nightclubs, and this was before the internet. So this was like flyers.
This was the King's Cross clubs that you worked in, right?
Man. Yeah. So I used to run some of the biggest clubs in King's Cross, and King's Cross was the epicenter of clubbing in Australia. So you could literally walk to 30 or 40 different venues within a 100-metre radius, and they were just all pumping. And, that's kind of what I went through then. Yeah, that was it was crazy.
What were some of the biggest lessons that you learned from working in the clubs when it comes to marketing and branding and everything else, and getting people around your product and what you're doing?
For me, it was because this was before the internet. So we were going out meeting people face to face. It was building a rapport with people and making them feel special. And it's something that I carry into Milky Lane now. People would come down to the club and I'd be out the front to greet them. And I used to say to, the owners at the time and the security guards, make every single person feel important, and they will come back here week after week. You know what I mean? Because when I was young, I would go to the places where the security guard knew my name, the bartender knew my drinks. I looked like the man with the boys. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that was one of the things I just learned, was that people just want to feel like
part of something.
Yeah, make it part of a family. And I guess that's kind of would be lost in today's age. It was easier to do back then before the internet, and now you just send out a Facebook event invite and you don't know anyone that's coming. But I knew everyone that was coming to the club at that point, because I'd handed them a flyer, had a chat to them in their store. I was going to the shopping malls.
Yeah. So it's like old school guerrilla marketing.
Oh, right. This was like
meet and greet.
Yeah, we'd be like trying to, make enough money for petrol to go out to the next mall, to go flying. And we knew them all. We walked back in 2 weeks later. They'd be like, Christian, Yanni. This is the other fellow I used to work with. Really good looking guy. Knew everybody. Charisma coming out of his eyeballs. It was mental, man. Like, you've never seen a guy that could light up a room like it. So we'd walk in there and they'd come down to the club and we'd know everybody. And these were the coolest clubs in Sydney at the time, man. They were pumping every single night. So yeah, that was, I learned a lot about marketing and face-to-face kind of interaction.
Where did you go on from the clubs in terms of like your journey to get in? You don't just go from doing the clubs to running Milky Lane. There's a lot of steps in between that. Well, I mean, what did you do after the clubs?
So I was in the club stuff probably until late 20s. So I did that for quite a while, maybe like 9 or 10 years. After that, I started running huge boat parties. So I was running like the biggest boat parties in Australia. There were 4 times a year in Sydney, 1,000 people each time. One of the clubs that I was running at the time, I had DJs that used to play for me there every week. Gold Coast boys called the Stafford Brothers.
Yeah, I know.
You know Matt and Chris?
Yeah,
mate.
I know
so
them, yeah.
I'm talking, I've known these guys when nobody knew who they were 15 years ago. Maybe more. And I remember they came to me one week and they're like, mate, we've got this fella that wants to come and play with us. He plays the trumpet. And I'm like, fuck am I going to do with a guy that plays the trumpet? Enter my relationship beginning with Timmy Trumpet, who, I don't know if you know, but he's now one of the top. I think he just ranked number 5 in the world in DJ, mate.
It's mental.
Playing main stage from Tomorrowland, everything. So I'm like, yeah, come on, we'll give this fella a go. Comes down and he's busted his trumpet out of his thing in this dark club, right? And the Stafford Brothers are EDM, and this guy's playing the trumpet. And I went, this works. This is quite cool. So I said to him, let's get you on the boat parties. So I was paying him $200 a set at the time, right? And this guy'd be on $500,000 right now. So I was paying him $200 a set. And I remember he became my resident. So he would play with the Staffords. And then I remember he came to me and he said, mate, I want to do my first DJ trumpet set where I do both. I don't want to do it on my own. So he actually posted the flyer on his Instagram the other week and just went, mate, throwback to my first ever thing. And it was at one of the clubs that I had. And it was crazy. I remember he used to play my boat events. And he'd be playing up on the roof. And it was open air on Sydney Harbour. And it was just sexy house music, And I remember when he wanted to put his rate up to $500. And I said, mate, we're going to have a chat. You know what? I said, things are going well, but 500. And then we got it over the line and it was 1,000. I was like, fuck me. I was like, this guy's obviously blowing up. And this is at the same time when, Will Sparks was just blowing up and I had him play on the boat. And
was Fisher coming through as well then?
Yeah, he would have just come through just a little bit after that. So I'm talking, man, this would have been 12 years ago maybe.
Yeah.
So nobody, Timmy's profile was growing and we just formed a really cool friendship, man. Like he was just such a good dude. So I was doing the boat parties for 5 or 6 years. They got shut down, sadly. Unfortunately, I had a few overdoses on the boat, one of the parties, and it was on the rooftop and made the media, everything, man. It was like...
How hard is that for you, shutting down a business, knowing that you've done everything in your power to make it accessible and safe and everything?
Hey, security guards. I got to the point where I was paying for sniffer dogs. I was paying the police to bring down sniffer dogs. I'm like, I'm working with you. I'm not going against you. Kids being kids will get whatever they want into a festival on the boat. Yeah. Party's going great, and next thing you know, it's a couple of kids upstairs and, on the ground and, convulsing. And I was just like, shit, okay, so this isn't good. And then you wake up the next morning and there's, Sydney Morning Herald, Daily Telegraph, biggest publication in Australia, overdose, Dirty Funk and Beats promoter, which was my brand, DFB. And then photos of me on the boat, my shirt off, plastered all through the fucking articles. And I was just like, this is not a good look. So it got to the point where it happened a couple of times on a smaller scale, but the Royal Maritime just ended up saying, mate, this guy can't run events anymore on the harbour. I was actually banned from running events in Sydney Harbour.
So
I don't think they've ever banned a single person, and this is the Maritime.
So you literally go from running the biggest events in Australia to getting banned. So you're back
getting banned and zero income. I was working for my dad as well quite a lot during my 20s, so that was kind of my backup.
Do you think it's important for people to have a backup?
Yes, until your primary is what you want it to be. Because I think that if you have not got your key focus to a really stable point and you're trying to put your finger in 10 different pies, it's really hard to make it work. That's what I think. I truthfully believe that diversifying comes when you've got, the revenue to be able to do it. And, I see a lot of people doing 10 different things at once. You can only give so much of yourself to anything. That's the way I see it. And unless the thing that you're really focused on is, once it's running smooth, once it's set up, once you've got a team, once you've got staff, for sure. But if you're still in that building process, I think it's hard. So I had that as a backup. I lost everything overnight. And I went, you know what? I'm going to go and do this on the fucking Gold Coast. And this is when I was living in Sydney. So I came up here, scouted out a venue over at McLaren's Landing, it was called then, which is now where Tipplers is. I don't know if you know that spot where everyone takes the jet skis out there.
Yeah.
And I went, I'm going to be the first person to build a stage on the beach. Mate, it was a nightmare. I'm getting this monstrous stage with LED screens and speaker stacks onto the sand. So it was called The Island. Sold out this event, mate. It was 3,000 people. Had every boat available on the Gold Coast doing transfers in and out. All the bars out there set up. Best event you've ever seen. People coming up all night just going, mate, what is this? Absolutely incredible. 2 minutes before the end, 2 kids overdosed on GBH. And I was like, oh, are you kidding me? Not this again. So get back to land, go back, to a friend's place with a few mates. It's on the news everywhere. And I was just like, okay, I think this is it. This is the end. I don't think I can come back from this. And then they were linking it to my Sydney events. So I was like, all right, I'm 31, 32 odd. I've just lost everything that I've built.
Twice over.
Tried to go interstate. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? Most of my 20s for the most part, mate, was spent partying. For me, the pinnacle of existence was getting on it with the boys. And I was just like, mate, I've got status, I've got money, I've got a network of people that I thought were my friends. And lo and behold, when everything crashed, I didn't really have any friends.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like going out 4 nights a week, just absolutely sending it, as a lot of people do. In hindsight, I just think I wasn't happy. I was using it as an escape, whether it was traveling, alcohol, drugs, whatever it may be.
What do you think you were trying to escape from?
The fact that I didn't know where I was going. The fact that I knew that what I was doing for work wasn't a career. It wasn't something you want to be doing at 43 years old or 45 when you're married and settled down, and I'm still going off running club events 3 nights a week or owning a nightclub. And I just knew that something inside of me knew that this wasn't forever. So I would just hide from it, you know what I mean?
Do you think a lot of people do that?
Yeah, man, 100%. I think that a lot of, don't get me wrong, it's fun to go out and have a laugh. And I still enjoy it. And some people just really enjoy socialising, and that's fine. But for somebody that doesn't even really like socialising that much, Frankie, I'm a loner. I spend 90% of my week alone.
Mate, you're speaking to you're preaching to the choir on this, because I spend a lot of time alone, bro, and people don't realise that because obviously I speak on podcasts similar to you.
They expect us to want to be around people all the time.
Not at all. Like it's the last thing that I've had no end of people since I've been here invite me out to no end of events and stuff. I don't go to hardly any.
And then they just stop inviting you, and then I'm like, no one wants to hang out with me. I'm like, and I message the boys, and I'm like, fucking nice invite. Everyone's like, mate, you don't come out. And mate, I live in a 2-bedroom place, and nobody's ever slept in my 2nd bedroom. It was like, everyone's like, why did you do that? And I said, just because I like the space. Yeah. And I like the thought of having someone there if I wanted, but I've never really wanted it.
Yeah.
So, for somebody that doesn't enjoy being out socialising, I was out 4 nights a week. And the way that I would get through that was drinking and whatever else, you know what I mean? So I would kind of go out and even still to this point, I'm a bit awkward around people I don't know. My circle is so tight and so small. It's been the same people for 20 years almost.
Yeah.
I've got thousands of acquaintances like you would.
That's why it took us like 3 years to get this thing.
Mate, I think you were just jet setting, mate, taking over the world with your pods.
Mate, I was trying, but you're right in what you're saying. What do you think holds most people back from finding their purpose? From what you've known from your own like introspection?
Fear of facing the reality of where they're at. To me, I think that it is much easier to drink it away, or to go on a bender and hide from it, or to holiday it out of you. You know what I mean? And I think it takes balls and courage to be able to look at yourself in the mirror, and it's something I still do to this day, and just say, who am I? And a lot of people wouldn't know that. If you walked up to most people and said, who are you? Tell me who you are. They go,
they tell you a job title.
Yeah, literally. I'm a marketer. I'm a sales assistant. No, who are you? When you look at yourself in the mirror, who's that? And I think a lot of people don't. It's a longer road and a longer journey to figure that out than it is to just say, let's just go out and crack on and fucking forget about it. A lot of people will spend their whole lives in doing something that they don't enjoy, and that scared the shit out of me, man. That scared me so much. And this is, I understand everybody has to work to put food on the table, and sometimes not everybody has the luxury of doing something that they're madly in love with. But that scared me. That scared me a lot. So, it was a bit of a haze, my 20s, to be honest, man. It was just a whirlwind of...
I think as a man, you don't really know anything about who you are until you're in your 30s anyway.
Couldn't agree more. That's when I started to figure it out.
When I get like 18, 20-year-olds asking me advice and like, oh, mate, I've not found my purpose yet. I'm like, you're not meant to have found your purpose yet, brother.
Couldn't agree more.
You have to try a lot of stuff, and you have to be willing to try a lot of stuff to figure out what you're meant to be doing, right? There's no way that you could figure out that you're doing Milky Lane and put all that together without all these pieces aligning. Okay, I tried my boats. I'm virally marketing young artists like Timmy Trumpet. I'm doing these things. I'm putting this thing together. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, I'll put that together. Oh, that will work. You know what I mean?
Milky Lane has a piece of all of them.
Yeah,
it really does. And that's something that I tried to do, was bring entertainment into restaurants. You know what I mean, and things like that. But that was so when that all kind of come crashing down, mate. I was living out of Sydney at the time, going in and out of failed relationships as you do in your 20s, 30s, whatnot. And I had like a 2-year period where I was like, what am I going to do now? And that, as a man that's, I think, a man without a purpose is a man that's fucking not doing well for me. You know what I mean? It's like, you need a purpose, and whatever that purpose might be. I had none at that point. No money, no career, no idea what I wanted to do.
And you're how old?
I would have been 32, 33 at that point. So not young. Getting to the point where you want to
settle down.
You want to have your ducks in a row.
Yeah.
And I was, coming off the back end of probably 12 years of just relentless partying, man. Like, crazy. And it took its toll on me.
How had it taken its toll on you?
Mentally, physically, you know what I mean? I had gallstones at like 27, 28 years old, and I went into hospital, and I kept like waking up at like 2 a.m. in absolute agony. I can't describe it to you. They say that gallstones for a man are the same white blood cell count, which is your pain threshold, as a woman giving birth. So I was waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning in absolute agony, mate. And they'd take me to the hospital. By the time I got there and saw someone, the pain had gone, because it only lasts about an hour or two. Got to the point where this happened 3 or 4 times. They went, you know what, we need to perform, to do an ultrasound on him. And they said, mate, you've got a 2-centimetre gallstone. I went, how old are you? And I said, 27, 28 at that point. And they went, mate, this doesn't happen to people till they're 60. I said, what's your lifestyle like? And I went, and I remember my mum was in the hospital room with me, and they're like, mate, could you let us know what drugs you've had in the last 3 days? And I went, or in the last week. And I was like, fucking mum. You know what I mean? And I remember I had that surgery and I'd been out of surgery. I had friends, because the hospital was in King's Cross. So I had friends come in on the Saturday night that had been out, coming in, bringing me drinks in. The day after my surgery, I'm still in the private ward and they're partying in my fucking room, right? Like madness. I get out of hospital. On my way home, someone's called me and gone, mate, there's a big event on tonight at the Art House. You in? I'm bandaged up to the fucking hills. And I'm going, fucking of course I'm in. This is what I do. I live for this.
So there's the key. You attach your identity to it.
100%. I said, this is who I am. And they're like, mate, you're built for this. And I went, that's all I thought I was built for at that point. And I was an animal. So there's me on stage at this club at 11 o'clock at night, 24 hours or 36 hours after a surgery to remove my whole gallbladder. Not just a gallstone, my whole gallbladder got taken out with keyhole surgery. And I'm back partying again, out for 24 hours, man. So, I started to get like health problems, at that point from it. Not just mentally, physically, bro. Things were coming up that I was like scratching my head going, don't get it, don't understand it. Pancreatitis, you know what I mean? And we think, and I thought at that point my body was invincible. I was like, nothing can take me down. Like, I've been to the depths of hell and back with partying and drinking, and I'm still here. So I'm invincible. And I think that's what a lot of people think. A lot of people push it and push it and push it and push it because they come back and they're fine, and they're fine for the most part. But then there's that one time where you might not, and that's what scared the shit out of me at that point, coming off the back end of that. So, mentally as well, I was probably in the worst place I'd been in. And a lot of that was just because of not having anything going on in my life at that point, single, in and out of living at home because I didn't have finances at that point. So you can imagine as a man that age, having to accept that I'm going back to mum and dad's. It's not the coolest thing. When I was the fucking bee's knees for like 10 years, I was the party king of Sydney, of King's Cross. I was throwing events with Calvin Harris, Diplo, Cascade, anyone you could think of, right? They come to Australia and the promoters will call me and say, mate, I did Disclosure at Home Nightclub, 3,500 people, mate. One of the best shows that Australia's ever seen, and people still call me to this day and go, remember that show you did it? Mate, I made so much money off that because I got a really good deal on them. So I was, went from being what I thought was the man to being forgotten about, mate.
So you haven't kind of, in that point, you must be having an identity crisis. And, and this is the point where you're saying to yourself, who am I? What am I here to do, right?
Well, and I had no one around me. So at that point, I remember thinking, fuck, mate, I've got the best friends in the world. As soon as I wasn't useful anymore, as soon as I stopped paying for their weekends, as soon as I stopped letting them into the club, drink for free every week, my network went from, thousands down to the same few people that I've had since day one. So
what was the lesson in that?
The lesson for me was quality over quantity, man. And that's why I can count on one hand the people that I would call if I was in trouble. And I don't need more than that. I also don't care what people have to say about me outside of those people I can count on my hand. Because it's something that I had to deal with was, during my 20s, for some reason. And so online on the internet, I had quite a big voice, man. I was putting up Facebook statuses, getting like 15, 20,000 likes and stuff. Like, it was just unheard of. So everybody knew who I was. And I was quite opinionated, never about people as such, but just about life. So I became a common enemy. You know what I mean? We need to bring someone down. And this was when people realised that you could bully someone without leaving your living room. So, if I wanted to bully you 20 years ago, I had to find you and push you in the corridor, you know what I mean? Or yell at you down the street, send you a letter. Now it's like people were just going online and they're like, you know what, we're going to go for this guy. And I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. I was this charismatic guy that was, loved by almost everyone, I thought. And, I would wake up each day and just be like, what am I going to read today? What am I going to see? And people would be sending me things that it would destroy me, man. And I would.
What were some of the things you remember?
Man, it got to the point where people were threatening my family and even my dog, saying like, because I used to post my dog all the time. I'm a big dog lover. And people would post like, I'm going to fucking kill your dog. I'm going to come and kill your family. People I don't know, because everyone's really, really, really tough without a name. When people can be anonymous, man, like the stuff that they will say is just crazy. And this is people that I'd never met, Frankie. So it wasn't people that I'd had a run-in with, I didn't even know their names. People would send me this and go, mate, what do you think about this guy? And I was like, I've not heard of him. How can you say these things about me when you don't know me? So, that's when I had to get thick-skinned. And I didn't have a choice. It was sink or swim at that point, man, because I was, it hurts when it's constant, bro. And my family were hurt, and my family was scared. And, I remember I'd go to the police and, we don't care, mate, it's the internet. You know what I mean? This was before the cyberbullying thing became like, there's laws around it now, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a big thing, you know what I mean? And I was like I was the test dummy for cyberbullying. And I was talking to one of my old best friends this morning before I came here. He said, mate, remember how you went through that 20 odd years ago? I said, we've never spoken about that. He said, I remember every bit of it. He said, that was crazy. And, for me, I had to stop caring what people think. So if you want to say something about me, that's cool. That's your opinion. And you're entitled to that. But unless you know me, unless you've spent time with me, and you would be hard-pressed to find somebody who's spent quality time with me that talks negatively of me. So if we don't know each other, I don't give a shit. I really don't care what anyone says, mate.
There'll be a lot of people listening to this that are limited in their life right now because they're potentially listening to other people's opinions on them or other people's distant opinions of them.
100%.
I mean, what would your advice be?
My advice would be, if it's not somebody that you would call when shit goes down, don't bother. Don't care about it, man. Like, people, no matter what you do, people are going to judge you. Whether you do good, whether you do bad, whether you're successful, whether you're poor. They're going to hate you. They're going to pull you down. They're going to say that you're useless if you're poor. If you're rich, they're going to say you're showboating. Just do whatever makes you happy at the end of the day, man, and have a few good people around you that will guide you and point you in the right direction. Because sometimes, the road does get bumpy and it does get a little bit, so it's good to have people to pull you back into line like that. And I've got a few good mates that are like that. I'll call them up about work or, my personal life, whatever I'm going through. And I know that they're rock solid. And I don't care what anyone else says. If you showed me now loads of people posting about me online, we're chatting about this, going, Christians this, Christians that, I'll go, hey, get on with your day. Like, I could not care less. And not everyone's like that, I've got friends that are like, well, if this person doesn't like me, who cares?
But it takes time to develop that as a man, especially like,
bro.
you're not born, you can only deal with adversity by facing it. You know what I mean? So you understand that the challenges that you're facing right now, whoever's listening to this, the challenges that you're facing are designed for you to grow through. And without them being there, you won't be able to go to the levels that you can go to. You have to have the challenges to get to the top level. Has to be. And you can only climb as high as you can go low in terms of like,
Love that.
That's simple as that, right? Clear.
Yeah, it takes time to develop that. And, I'm not saying don't care what anyone thinks, but, if it's not people that you would turn to or that you speak to regularly or that really know you, because you will find that the people that have the most to say don't know anything about you.
You got to ask yourself, when someone has an opinion of you, you got to ask yourself, do they have the full context as to that situation? And if they lack the context, then you should just have empathy towards them having that opinion.
Couldn't agree more, mate. I used to. It's funny you said that. I used to kill people with kindness when they would bully me online, because I like I used to, like there'd be people posting things everywhere and people would send it to me. And I went through a period where I'd get on there and try and defend myself, Frankie, and I'd be like, you don't know this, you don't know that. And then I realised that what these bullies need to survive is a response. Yeah. So when you take that away, right, when you just go, so sorry you feel that way, you know, like, have a great day. And then people just go, what? And then they'll have another go and go, hey, he's not biting anymore. Because once you stop reacting, that's the fuel on their fire, is that allows them to get to go bigger, 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 bigger. We've got him now. He's bitten. And without that, or if you just ignore it, 9 times out of 10, mate, it will go away in a couple of weeks.
You're removing the power from the situation.
Couldn't agree more. There'll be a new target, someone that's more reactive, responsive, you know. And that's hard to do because when you read or hear or see things about yourself, your first instinct is defend, defend, defend.
It's interesting because, like, when you look at you and the success that you're having, and we'll go into the brand in a minute, but when we look at what you're doing, and then when we look at like an Adrian Portelli or a Troy Candy in this country that's also doing well, or an Oscar Ledlin, they all experience hate at this pivotal point when they start to have some form of success. Australia just seems to, like, every country,
poppy everywhere, isn't it?
Everyone, but like Australia especially, because it's so beautiful and so abundant here for everyone, really.
Completely.
Like, it's the best country in the world by an absolute long shot. I just don't understand where that negativity even comes from in this country. I really don't understand it, but it just seems to happen.
I think that people are too scared to try and do something themselves. So it's easier to try and bring down the people that are. You know what I mean? Like, if you just channeled all that energy that you're putting into bringing down somebody that's doing well, celebrate the wins. You know what I mean? And that's why it's important to have those people around you that do that with you. Because I hear it that friends that are overseas that, you know, go and spend time in LA or go and spend time in New York or Miami, you know, like, it's not like this. They're like, everyone's building each other up. Everyone's lifting each other up. Everyone's supportive of what each other's doing. But Australia's just got this. And I read it still on, you know, articles about Adrian sometimes. I'm like, I'll go through and have a look. And I'm just like, what do you guys find the time to do this? Like, how are you sat there thinking, you know what? This person's done really well. I'm going to try and fucking have a go at them. Like, my mind has never once gone... And even if I don't like the person or think that much of them, I'll go, well done.
Yeah, well done. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Well done. And that's, I guess it's people that are afraid to have a crack. And they just kind of get this sense of entitlement from kind of, you know, and then they get a few likes on their comment. And then there are a few people, few laughing emojis under it going, go on.
Yeah.
And they go, got him. You know what I mean? You haven't got anything. You haven't done shit. The person that you're attacking is working and making money and looking after people that they want to look after while you're going on your fucking keyboard.
Well, I was speaking to Ty Lopez, and he said to me, Frankie, like, you got to understand, in order to hit the critical level of virality online, you need people attacking each other's point of the opinion within inside the comments because it pushes the post.
So, I agree, man.
So he's...
I used to let them go to war, actually.
Yeah. So he says, like, you need to create a narrative that some people are going to agree with and some people are going to disagree with, so that they go to war in the comments to drive the content further.
Yep.
So I want to go into the brand, because then I want to go into the virality of the virality stuff. So, like, let's just go into Milky Lane as a business. Like, what made you decide to start the concept Milky Lane, and where did it come from?
So I used to chat to a mate about it, one of my best mates at the time. And we'd be having a few beers on a Saturday afternoon, and every now and then, you know, I'd pitch this idea to him, because he had really good business acumen. I was never the structured business guy, as you can see with my life, what it was. I was the visionary. I was the guy that came up with the ideas and knew how to people please and knew how to deliver what people wanted. But I didn't know how to set up a company, you know, of that kind of level. So I used to pitch the idea to him all the time. And he came to me one week and he went, mate, you've won me. You've got me over. He said, let's do this. Let's do this restaurant.
Did you have the name and everything?
Yeah, well, originally, so I was kind of... So a lot of the stuff that we do in the stores is like nostalgic throwbacks to like candy and sweets that we used to eat when we were young. And I went, where did you used to get that? You used to get it at the Milk Bar down the road. That's what it was called, the Milk Bar. So it's going to be the Milk Bar originally. And then it changed over to Milky Lane. And funny story was that there's actually a Milky Lane franchise in South Africa, which is like a dessert bar. And they came at us just after we trademarked the names and everything like that and tried to get us to deregister the name and tried to sue us. And I saw that their trademarks had actually finished in Australia just as we started ours. So that was the name. So we came up with this concept and I went, where are we going to do it? Well, we live in Bondi. It's not a much better place in the world, is there, to open a restaurant? Or so I thought. Seasonal as hell. You know, rents are through the roof. Health conscious, you know, but we were like, mate, Bondi it is. And we're like, okay, what do we do now? Well, I guess we have to find a restaurant, don't we? We have to find a site. So we're on commercial real estate every day looking for sites. And I'm like, mate, there's not much coming up. And he said, well, what's the next thing? And I said, well, we're gonna stake out all the restaurants for the next month and see who's not busy. We're going to try and buy their restaurant. So I was like, you know, what, we're just going to walk in off the street? I went, yeah, 100%. So we'd sit there for like a couple of weeks on end, right? And we'd go inside and we'd order food and we'd sit down and we're like, how many people you reckon he's doing tonight? How many people you reckon? We were trying to calculate his turnover and what his rent might be to see if this guy's making money.
And to see if he's valued.
Yeah, I went, well, he's over fucking staffed. I reckon this guy's bleeding money. So we'd literally walk in there and just say, can we meet with the owner? I'm like, yeah, cool. Sit down with the owner and we're like, mate, how's business? Oh, mate, it's great. Every owner wants to tell you it's great. And I'm like, well, I've been watching you the last couple of weeks. It's not that busy. I said, look, this is my name. I'm looking for a site to open a restaurant. If anything kind of changes, once you plant the seed in someone's mind, if they've ever had the thought that, fuck, you know, this is tough, that starts to grow. So I was like, we had business cards out with about 20 sites in Bondi. And then we ended up finding the one that ended up being Milky Lane. And now the guys that owned it, I actually ended up bringing them on as business partners of Milky Lane. They were my business partners for the first 4 years. Some of the best chefs you've ever seen in the world, Scott and Pat. Scott used to be a personal chef for Bon Jovi, Madonna, Beyonce, Paul McCartney, flew the world with these guys as their personal chef. So the food that this guy could make was out of this world. And Pat was the same. He had a little bit more business acumen than Scotty. Scotty was just could make anything taste like gold. And I went to my business partner. I was like, we don't know anything about fucking food. Like, so I was like, we're at the next stage now. I was like, well, fuck, we actually have to make some food, don't we? I'm like, yeah, I've got these ideas. I'm like, do you know how to cook? He's like, no. I went, me either. So I said, so we went in, chat with the boys, and we said, look, we want to buy you out because we understand that, you know, you've got a kitchen bar set up. You know, you've got some stuff that I can use. But I want you guys to be business partners as well. And this is the concept. And it was literally a piece of paper. Like, mate, what do you reckon? They're like, we're in. And we just formed this unbreakable bond, the four of us boys. It was crazy, man. So we started to, it was decided that, you know, because I understood the most about marketing, social media, I would run our social media. So I got our account started and I started filming stuff from inside the restaurant long before we'd opened, before we'd even done a reno. And it was just all the products that we were making, right? So I'd come up with these crazy ideas, feed them through to Scott, who would just fucking come out the other end. He was like my...
So you'd birth the idea and then he'd create it.
I go to him, mate, what do you reckon about if we did like this deep fried lasagna and these garlic bread buns and it's got like this pesto aioli and this nut sauce? And he's like, yeah, mate, give me an hour. I'm like, what? And we were just pumping shit out of that kitchen and the bar that people just couldn't believe. So we grew to like 15 or 20,000 followers before we'd served a customer.
So this was just you,
me posting stuff.
You were just posting creations that you were making.
People were sharing it
whilst you were renovating the restaurant.
Yeah, man. So like we were literally renovating at the time, and we kept the kitchen there, and we would just make food non-stop. This was kind of at the start of that whole food porn craze, right? We pioneered that, man. And this was when, like, internet was kicking off, social media's kicking off, Instagram was...
So what year is this?
2016,
Yeah.
8 years ago.
Yeah.
That's kind of when all this kind of started about. So we would just put stuff online, and like before we'd even opened, we were booked out for the first 2 months at a 115-seat restaurant. So
What, solidly booked?
for 2 months. No one had ever heard of us before this. So we weren't an existing brand, but we built a cult following of people that just couldn't wait to get there. So we'd put the booking link up online, and then going back to the haters part, actually, there was a load of people that obviously went, oh, we're going to fucking follow him. We're going to get him on this one too. So they would go onto the Google page of the restaurant before it opened, and we'll leave 1-star reviews. So I'm like, you're fucking joking me, right? So I'm like, this same group have followed me from nightclubs at 20, boat events, huge external festival events, and now they're fucking... Worst thing that ever happened to the burger industry. This guy will single-handedly destroy hospitality. I remember that one to this day. No chance, it will fail before it started. And this was the 1-star reviews. I could actually go back and find them for a laugh one day and send them through to you. And this was before it opened. Food poisoning will never return. And I'm like, what the fuck you got food poisoning when I open, bruv? You know, like that. But people didn't know that. You know what I mean? People go,
Right,
they go,
yeah.
about this joint. So I'm fighting that as well at the same time. Fast forward to, you know, the restaurant opening, and we were just so busy, man. And the other boys, Scott and Pat, they'd never dealt with those volumes, you know, because it was crazy. And I'd never done a restaurant. And all I wanted to do was pack as many people as I could. Fuck what happens to you when you're in there. I just want to just, you know,
Round it out.
I want that big first week, and I want to just kind of go. And that's what I did. And luckily for us, the wheels stayed on at that point. And then we were putting out products, man, that were just, they were going viral. So we were tapping into, like, as I said, the candies, the sweets, the lollies, the food that you used to eat as a kid that just makes you go.
So you're going nostalgia, yeah.
Emotion. You know, people would just kind of go, that's my favourite, you know, lolly when I was 5, 10, 15, going to school. You get it on the way to school. Now it's a cocktail. Now it's a shot. And no one had done that yet. No one had collided the two worlds of, like, how do we take people back to a good time? When you know what I mean? And people would just go, get out of here. I haven't seen that in 10 years. You know, and we did that with our music too. I was very, you know, big on the fact that, you know, my favourite era of music was 2000s hip-hop R&B, man.
Yeah.
You know, Usher, just TLC, you know, just...
Craig David.
Mate, Craig David, I saw him in concert quite a couple of times. I met him, and he was my favourite. But even still now to this day, right, when you hear those songs, your heart goes, and you know the words to every track still. I don't make songs like that now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like... And that, for me, was the golden era. So the music that we played had to emulate the food that we were making. So everything in store was designed to take you back to, like, another
To a feeling, and also I suppose what you designed it for is so that they can never forget the feeling when they tasted that product in your store.
And literally they would be sat there, right, drinking a Buffalo Bill cocktail or Warhead shots, you know, which is like what you used to have when you were younger, listening to their favourite tune that they haven't heard in 10 years, right? And they're just like singing in their chairs. And this is a restaurant, and we had DJs as well. So we had DJs in there. We had a full DJ booth. Yeah. So this is me bringing in what I used to do. So I would incorporate that into it, right? And it's still not common now, but at that point, you had never seen a DJ booth inside a fully seated, full-service restaurant.
And graffitied restaurants as well.
Graffiti restaurants. We had the best, like, graffiti team, like some of the best guys in the world, come in and do our stores. And it was all the hip-hop murals, you know. We had it... at the Bondi store, there was a huge rectangular piece, like, at the back of the restaurant. And we actually recreated The Last Supper. We ended up getting a bit of fucking flack from that, to be honest. Like, at one point, 99% of people appreciated it and said, that's great. Today, I feel if we did that, it would be heightened again.
Yeah.
But back then, there was a little bit more room to move. And we didn't do it out of disrespect. We just went, well, we've got that big, long rectangular piece. Let's do like the hip-hop all-star rappers
version of it. Yeah.
And people would come. So the first night when we launched that venue, we had, on that piece, there was like Snoop Dogg, A$AP Rocky. A$AP Rocky and Snoop Dogg shared it to their Instagrams that night. And I was like, fucking, we're on here. Like, this is it. This is as good as it gets. Like, we're a hip-hop themed restaurant and we've just been shared by Snoop Dogg and A$AP Rocky on the same night. And, yeah, man, it was crazy. It was surreal. I was working on the door at the time. So I would talk to everyone that came down and people would drive like 6 or 7 hours. I'm like, mate, thanks for coming down today. Where are you from? Port Macquarie. Good 6-7 hour drive from Sydney. I'm like, oh, you guys down here for a week? We just drove down to have lunch and we're driving back afterwards. And I was like, you've driven a 14-hour round trip to eat at my restaurant.
The power of branding.
Mate, it was crazy. And people would just like, people would check in there on social media and their friends would message them and go, you fucking haven't gone there. Like, how lucky are you? And it was just the place to be, man. Every celebrity that was in town, Jonas Brothers, Post Malone, Ed Sheeran, anyone that was there, man. So with the Post Malone thing, I actually found him on the street myself. So I'd seen that he was
You found Post Malone?
I literally went looking for him with a bag of chicken.
Really?
Yeah, bro, I'm not kidding. So I'd seen that he loved fried chicken, one of his favourite things. And I'd heard that he was in Bondi. So I called my team and I went, it was like, I think it was in the morning. Went, open up the restaurant now. I need 20 pieces of fried chicken, the best chicken we've ever made. I said, I'm going to go find Post Malone. They went, no, you're not. I said, mate, I am. Bondi's not a big place. Got my Milky Lane shirt on, walking the street to Bondi with 2 of my staff. You go that way, I'll go this way. Boom, we found him on the street walking with his people. And I've gone to walk up to him, security guard's like, mate, back away. And he's going, no, wait, these guys are cool. What do you got? I'm like, hey, bro, man, a bit weird, but I heard you love fried chicken. I've made you some fried chicken from a restaurant around the corner. He's like, yeah, I love some chicken, man. Got this food to him. Next thing you know, I'm like, photo, Milky Lane T-shirts on, Post Malone's holding Milky Lane food. And everyone's just gone, what the fuck online? Like, and I'm, mate, you got to create opportunities like this. I had nothing to go off of. Like, oh, there's a celebrity in your town. Cool. Most people today would just go, yeah, that's good to know.
Then they'd forget.
Forget about it. And I'm like, no, we have an opportunity here to indirectly say Post Malone endorses Milky Lane. So then I get a phone call at the restaurant the next night. Hey, look, Posty really loved that food. He's in his hotel. Would you guys drop him some food off? And I'm like, fucking hell yeah, we will. Like morph pigs. So I made up fried chicken burgers. I got 5-6 bags of food, right? Rock up to his hotel. I expect that his management or someone's going to come downstairs. Lift door opens, he walks out on his own. I'm like, fucking what? And this guy is stoned, mate. Like, he's proper baked, Frankie. He's like, just like his eyes are almost shut. He's looking at this food like it's everything he's ever needed in life. And it was, mate, it was surreal. So next thing you know, I've got the photos on my social media and stuff like that of me stood downstairs in the foyer with Post Malone doing my gun fingers. Yeah. Like an absolute knob. And mate, that was just, I was all about creating those things. With the Ed Sheeran thing, so my business partner at the time, one of them, he was friends with Ed's personal chef. We when Ed was out here doing his tour, man, this is like, obviously he's still massive, but he was just another level, man. And we ended up getting him into one of the restaurants to eat. Got some photos of him holding the menu and stuff like that. And I said, just make sure you get one photo with that logo in it, please. And they're like, cool. Next thing you know, I get a photo of him holding the menu up like that in front of his face, like, you know, with his hair. Like,
yeah.
It's Ed Sheeran. You know what I mean? Another one with his face in it where he's like looking at the menu, and I went, guys, this is gold. We've struck gold here. We've got Post Malone and Ed Sheeran eating Milky Lane in the last 3 months without having to spend $1. Because now, if you wanted that, you'd have to put down a couple of mil probably. Yes. You know what I mean? So if you plan these things, we didn't have money. So we were just the kings of like seizing opportunities. And and trying to create something out of nothing. And so then he really liked the food, and his management called us, and they're like, mate, tomorrow Ed's got his show out at whatever it is, the major stadium in Sydney. Would you guys want to do the catering for his after party in the locker rooms? Well, fuck yeah, we will. Next thing you know, we've done the catering for Ed Sheeran's show, for all of his private staff and his tour managers. So then we just thought, well, that's all done and dusted. Nice one. 2 weeks later, we get an email. Ed would like to explore opportunities to buy into Milky Lane. I'm like, what? I'm just like, is this real? I'm like, surely not. The Ed Sheeran. And they're like, this is from his business advisor or, whoever it was that looks after his finances.
From his family office type thing.
Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck? And I've called the boys. I'm like, this is it. Like, we are going to that next level. We're like, what do we want him to do? How much do we want to give him? I'm like, mate, we need to get back to these guys ASAP. Get back to them. Conversations going backwards and forwards. It's looking good. I think we overcomplicated it, man. I think that guy's putting his finger in so many different pies. And we were like, oh, but this and this and this stipulation and that and that. We should have just said...
So you didn't say you didn't do the deal from the point of view of like just to get him on board. You were back and forth.
Well, my business partner was trying to add in all these
clauses,
and I just went, give him 20% now for zero, because what that's worth to me, right? And all I want to be able to do is like I want him to say I'm a partner in this now. I want him to own the UK arm. And I want him to be at our key launch events, Vegas, places like that.
Yeah, and bring his friends.
Right, I went, this company right now, whilst we think we're killing it, is not worth much. It's great online, and it's, we're doing good money, but we've got one store. So I'm like, just give him whatever he wants. And as I said, mate, we overcomplicated it.
Was that in hindsight, was that one of your biggest mistakes?
Yeah, because who knows where I'd be today. But, in saying that, it wasn't, I wasn't like, oh my God, we've lost everything, you know what I mean? Because we were still tracking well, you know what I mean? But that was a big opportunity that we had that I feel like could have been managed a little bit better. But in hindsight, it is what it is. And then we were just exploding through the media, man. Like, people would just come to us and just be like, how much money are you guys spending on PR and marketing? And I went, $0 on social media, $0 on PR. I've never paid an agency. And they're like, mate, you've got about 300 or 400 articles. And I went, because I'm creating stuff that they want to show. Their goal is clicks. I'm giving you clicks. So, I feel like you're spending big money with these guys to put your product in front of everyone if it's something that doesn't really have a lot of value to them or they're not like in love with. But we were just the golden child at that point and everyone wanted it.
So break down then your thesis on how any brand can create this viral spark that you have to get themselves featured in media. I want to hear your thesis on this.
Create things that people want, that they really want and that they want to see, not that you want to create. So I went through a period where I was creating content that I wanted to create and not thinking of what do people
want to consume.
What are they consuming at home? What are they looking for? I'm in the burger space. I'm in the cocktail space. What's working overseas? So I would see stuff that's working overseas and I would call the team, right? And I would go, guys, I've just seen, like I remember waking up one morning. I was on the Gold Coast, I don't know why. And I'd seen this donut fried chicken burger go viral in the States. And it was at KFC only in one city. And next thing you know, Today's Show, Morning Show, every major radio station is posting about it in Australia. Mate, check out this thing that's available in America. I called the boys and I went, we've got 3 hours to make this before someone else does. I said, if we can, we're going to be that's the next big thing for us. Because it was just everywhere. So I've called my Gold Coast store. I'm like, mate, can you please open up the store for me? Because that was a store that was open. Their franchises, obviously. I haven't got keys to every location. And they're like, mate, what do you need? I said, I've just gone to get a case of Krispy Kreme donuts. You've got the chicken. I've got the sauce. I'm like, in the kitchen now. So we've banged this burger out. looked exactly the same, even better than what they were posting overseas in KFC. I've put it online, mate, and this thing has gone ballistic. Fast forward 1 hour in, I've got 3 offers to be on live TV, on the morning show, on the Today Show with Carl Stefanovic, like everything that you can imagine. On Kiss FM with Carl Sandilands, you know, I probably got about 30 pieces of media from that, and it took me 30 minutes to arrange and cost me about $10 worth of product. Like, I'm not even kidding you. It was 2 donuts and a piece of fried chicken. And I'm like, is this really going to work? But it's what people were going crazy for. So it doesn't matter if I think it's going to work. This is what they want. Give the people what they want. And if you post it first, and this is what I always used to say to my team, it doesn't even matter if we don't end up doing it right for some logistical reason, or the price doesn't make sense, or we can't get the product. We've claimed it. That's ours. So anyone else that wants to come in and do that, everyone will go, mate, Milky Lane's just posted that, bro. So I'm like, let's just get this online quick. Let's sort out supply chain later. Let's sort out the costings later. Let's get it online.
So yeah, your ticket then is always posting the content online and claiming the first move.
Figure it out later.
Yeah.
Figure it out later. So for me, it was like, and my team hated me for it. Because they're like, mate, you put our backs against the wall. And I'm like, marketing and operations don't always see eye to eye. Operations are logical. Marketing is wild.
So where are you looking at the moment in terms of like like where do you look through to get your next viral product? Are you just literally looking at, okay, what's going off in America? What's going off in Miami? What's going off in LA?
I am. It's still a similar formula. I got to the point like a year or two ago though. So I went through a reshuffle with some staff members and stuff like that, and I kind of said to the team, I'm like, guys, people are catching us. I'm like, it used to be, you know, it got to the point where I was sending things that other people had done to my team saying, why haven't we done this? Like, we should be, that was us. Have we lost our touch? Are we not evolving at a fast enough rate? Because we were pioneering the whole thing at that point. There was nobody getting close. And I said, guys, we need to go back to our roots. We need to get serious again with this product development stuff, because that was one of the things that set us apart. And people just couldn't believe what we were making. They went, how have you done that? And for me, I'm still looking at what people are doing. I'm looking at what content's working. It's getting harder because it's getting more competitive, the space online. As you know yourself, Frankie, the editing on the content, you know, 1 month it's raw and edited content that's working. The next month it's highly edited, you know,
produced,
with effects. And it's like, mate, like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Like, and so I'm just making sure that we evolve with that, man, because, you know, our network's growing. So I'm making sure that we don't, as we grow and scale, a lot of things that worked for us at 1 and 2 and 3 stores doesn't work, you know, at 12, 13, 14, 15 stores. So it's setting up the systems and processes that, you know, grow with us and that does this work now, because this has to also work at 50 stores in a few years.
Yeah.
And a lot of those things don't. We were hand making croquettes, you know what I mean, out the back. And we were like pressing like our own meat, and we were doing a lot of making our sauces from scratch. And it's like, okay, well, we need to now set this up for that next level. Kind of like what you said before. But this is not quite that level yet.
We were talking before the podcast about the 2X versus the 10X. It's easier to do a 10X jump than it is to do a 2X. And the reason for that is because when you go 10X, you know that everything you're doing right now has to change fundamentally in every aspect to get you to a 10X growth point. Whereas whereas the hard work is actually doing a 2X, because that allows you to keep things that aren't, you know, they're suboptimal. They're doing all right. That'll do. It allows you to keep that in your focus, in your business. So when we were talking before the podcast about, you know, the trajectory of Milky Lane, and you've got to like 35 million in revenue, it's like, okay, well, how do we go to 200 million in revenue? Well, the way that we do that is by going 10X, not 2X. You know what I mean?
That spoke to me, man.
I think it spoke to your soul.
I did. I've been panicking about it since. I've been like, I'm not looking big enough. I'm not, you know, I know what the end goal is for, you know, from a financial level. For me, I had to stop looking at it as just like, how much money can I make? Because I'm like, I was so hell bent on focusing on that.
the money with this will take care of itself.
Oh man,
make
people happy.
Just keep building that brand that we've cut through product development. Agree. It's like you're literally like all the time one cutthroat product a week away from virality all the time with this brand because it already has eyeballs.
Right,
so, and I think that's the most beautiful thing that you've built is you've built that machine that can create that. So as long as you guys are at the forefront of the product development, which you are, but it's not just about being. I noticed a few times that you're talking about we're on the forefront of product development in Australia, which is good. But how about the 10x version of Milky Lane is how can we become the forefront in the world?
That's what I need to be looking at now. Yeah,
because I think that's you've always looked at it through the lens of like be the best in Australia, and you are.
Yeah.
But it's like okay, what now then? Where does this go from here?
Yep.
It has to be something more. Because what you want and the vision for the business is too big to just be kept in this small pond.
Yeah, I agree completely.
It's a beautiful problem to have, though. It's a beautiful problem to have.
I thought that I was looking at it that way, and now I see that I'm not. You know, so
no. I think you were, but it's perspective. Here's the difference. You were looking 10x rather than 2x. You were, but you were looking 10x rather than 2x in the Australia market. Expand to Canada, expand to Bali. Then I've extrapolated that and took you out of that and said, hey, well, hang on a minute, have a look at this whole thing right now.
That's what I needed to do.
Right? Now you remove yourself away from these three markets, zoom out, you're at a world market, now what do you want to do? What's 10x from there? Oh, okay, now perhaps I'm doing 2x, aren't I, right?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You just got to, when you zoom out of this stuff, you see it more. And it'll just.
A good light bulb moment for me then.
But when you're in it and you're doing it, and you are smashing it. There's no doubt about that. When you are in it, doing it, smashing it at the level you are, it's hard to see all these extra things that you could be doing.
It is hard, man. And I've got such a small team. You know, we've only got 5 people at our head office running this whole setup. That's including myself, who's up here.
So so you imagine that's 5 people running a 35 million a year revenue business right now. Yeah,
it seems madness. I'm kind of like. Sitting there all the time and I'm like, cool, so we're ready soon for the next round of hires, you know what I mean? We've had a bit of a reshuffle recently. I'm making sure that, you know, during COVID, we had to spend a lot of time pivoting what we do. And as somebody that prides themselves on guest experience, we lost 100% of guest experience because we couldn't even see people. So I'm like, what are we going to do now? Delivery was never even a thing for us. I'm like, how do we make this personal? What we'll do, we'll leave little notes in the bags for people. We'll write little thank you notes on the delivery bags and things like that. Man, during a time when people were just battered, right, at home, and we just leave cute little thank yous and little handwritten notes on every single delivery bag that went out, because that's all that we could do, man.
Quick one for you guys. You may have seen I've started to mentor people because I was getting people in the DMs reaching out, asking me for loads of different advice and guidance through many realms of what I've been through in my life. And I've created a mentorship program now that helps you create the reality that you want to live. It helps you make more money. On average, an extra 30 to 100K there is that's lying within your business that you don't know where it is or how to access it. I help people access that, and I also help them get every other area of their life right so they can improve their relationships, so they can improve the way they communicate, the way they network, and everything else. We work on the whole package. It's not just one area. We're not just in the pursuit of money, but we're in the pursuit of the purpose and the money and aligning it all together so that you go in the right direction to being the best version of yourself. If that is something that resonates with you on every level you're being and you want to work with me to take yourself to the next level, I would love you to click the link below this video and go to my mentorship page and make an inquiry. So you're just trying to do that little
just
part.
How can I still personalize what I'm doing without seeing you? Well, I can leave you a little note and I'll just say thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate it during these times. Every single delivery bag that went out, man, and it would have their name on it. So, you know, we didn't lose any stores during that period because there was a lot of support from the government and things like that, which made it easier. I actually think that this year has been harder for hospitality the last 12 months than COVID.
Why is that?
Because there's no help. So
what's going on with hospitality right now?
Cost of goods through the roof. So, you know, say hypothetically, if I was paying $10 a kilo for beef 2 years ago, I'm now paying $16. And that's across everything I use. That's across cheese, that's across chicken, that's across buns. I give my suppliers every 3 months going, hey, mate, you know what time it is? And I'm like, oh, fuck. Price increase again. And I've now hit a ceiling where I can't increase my price anymore because I believe that I will price myself out of the market. I'm already at the upper end. So in terms of, if you were to put us in a category with other burger joints, we're more expensive. But we're full table service. So I kind of, say that are my burgers, say if I'm $6 more expensive for a burger, is my burger $6 better? I'd be hard pressed to tell you and guarantee you it is. But I can guarantee you that it's a really good burger. And I can guarantee you that when I combine that with the music and with the customer experience and the rapport that my staff are building with you, it is more than a $19 burger. It's more than $6. And I will make you feel like it is the best burger that you've ever eaten in your life. And it's a damn good burger. But when I don't hit the mark with that, because the thing that made Milky Lane great is that there's so many variables and so many things. The thing that makes Milky Lane really bad is that there's so many variables and so many different things that combine into making it great. Whereas if you go to Betty's, right, it's a damn good burger at a good price. That's it. If you go to Milky Lane, man, there's so many, like the cocktails, are the foams made correctly? Are the garnishes done right on the cocktails? Is the music at the right volume? Are my servers, are my staff at the store trained correctly and able to deliver what we, expect them to? And human error and, Jenny coming in with a bad day because she's had a fight with her boyfriend. And then my guests for the whole day are on the receiving end of this. You know what I mean?
But I don't see Milky Lane as selling a burger. I see it as selling an experience.
That's what we call it. Yeah, we call it selling an experience. So people say, you're in the burger category, and I'm like, I'm not in a category. Like
we've created it.
Yeah, I don't see myself as being in a category. And like you and I were discussing before, you're like, oh, XYZ's doing this overseas and doing that, and I need to look at that. But in Australia, and I used to say this back in the day, is that when I do what I do and I do it really well, which is most of the time, and I pride myself on that, I'm still working at it, there's nobody that competes with us. Because there's not. Because traditionally you would go out for a hamburger and you go in and out. It's a 20-minute experience. We have 90-minute sitting times, up to 2 hours on the weekends. Tell me whatever you in the past have been out to a place that sells burgers as a primary, or went there for a night out, or celebrated an engagement or a birthday or we have a huge family audience, you know what I mean? And that's something I went for us to grow and to really, people used to think we were just this Bondi trendy hipster restaurant. And I was like, no.
But it's even when, because I've been in the restaurant many times, it's even
where have you been?
The one down here.
I just downstairs, have you?
Yeah, literally just down there. Oh, and I went in there, and what I realised, the genius of the place is the fact of, like, forget the ambiance and all that stuff. That's all good. That's all part of the experience. But what I really liked about it was, like, if there's four of you, say 4 lads go there for you train at the gym with them. You go there for a burger, cheap meal on the weekend. It's a great cheap meal type place. So it fits into that category of the gym group. So you go there for this cheap meal. You're all sat there. You order 4 different things. You've now got 4 different conversation points around the different foods that people are eating, which adds to the experience, right? And then when you're back training at your full speed throughout the week, you can always go back to that memory of the time of how you felt when you were eating that cheap meal, because you're not eating cheap meals all the time. So it's just like it's like a built-in talking point from, and there's lots of touch points within that.
Yeah,
and that's literally how you've created the experience, with what you're doing.
That's the one thing that we always said it was, Milky Lane is an experience. We said treat everybody like they're a VIP. You know what I mean? I want everybody to feel equally important and special at Milky Lane. And that's what's allowing us to, grow at the moment, because franchising is such a hard thing, man. Like everybody, if I went back 8 years ago, would I franchise? If I had the money to set up a corporate group, like where I own them all myself, potentially I would have done that.
Break down how you franchised it, and also break down why you've got to pivot the model?
Why did I franchise it? Didn't have the money to do it myself. That was a reality of it. I went, okay, cool. Well, I've created something really cool that other people are believing in already, and they want to buy a part of this. So I'm like, for me to roll out, a corporate model where I own them all myself, each store can cost anywhere from $600,000 to $1 million. So if I wanted to open 5 stores, $5 million. I'm like, we had no money in the bank. We were just like literally surviving week to week, mate. And I couldn't tell you, we all had our roles in the company. I was social media marketing. One of my other business partners here was finances. And I remember he'd call me sometimes, right, and he'd be like, mate, just so you know, Amex has just cut us off. MasterCard, done. Suppliers have just called and said that they're not dropping off tomorrow's food. They said, mate, this could be it. We were like, we've got no money in the bank account. What are we going to do? We've just been cut off by everyone. So I was like, fuck, what are we going to do? Enter Dad. I'm like, mate, we're in a bit of a pickle here. And that's where it came to that point where...
How much did you have to ask him for?
We would borrow money temporarily and then pay it off over the next, 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Because nobody else would lend us that sort of money. I'm talking maybe $300,000-400,000.
To keep all the stores going?
That was one at that point. So this was just Amex and supplier debt.
Wow.
Yeah, bro, it was madness. So I'm like, and I said to the boys, I'm like, finances is not my forte. It's not. I make shit look cool. And I'm like, what are we doing with the money? Where's it gone? Oh, mate, we opened a store in King's Cross. And everyone said, don't do that. What are you doing? King's Cross is dead, because when the lockout laws came in, everything just went to shit. And I went, mate, I've got the Midas touch at the moment. I went, I can bring back King's Cross. I was that arrogant. Not arrogant, but sure of myself.
Yeah.
So I went, I'm going to be the guy that brings back a whole fucking suburb, right? And everyone was just like, are you for real? And even my friends that still own clubs, and they own loads of clubs, they owned a venue across the road, and they went, mate, I don't reckon this is the right move. And I took over an old strip club up there, and it was this epic site on the corner, man. It was like split levels, and it still had the poles in there. And so we gutted this thing, renovated it, had to borrow money off somebody for the fucking build. Someone that we shouldn't have borrowed money off in hindsight, because we had our backs against the wall 2 days out from owing the money when we got a phone call. I said, you do realise there's 150 grand owed in 2 days? We had no money. Fucking, so we're like, again, back to like, fuck, we're in trouble. This isn't borrowing money off my dad either. This is like proper. So I'm like, what are we going to do here? I'm like, anyway, he's got fingers to go back to the fucking in the mail. I'm like, so we ended up getting ourselves through that, opened that store there, absolutely bombed. Absolutely bombed. We ended up putting a few $100,000 into it, I think. So we lost that money. We started it and we were like...
Did you have to shut it or you still got it?
Shut it. I've had to shut a few, man. So for me, when I first opened, I didn't care who I sold a franchise to. And I don't say that disrespectfully, but I mean, I wouldn't background check, are we going to get along? Are we going to, do we see eye to eye?
So important.
I'm like, I don't care. If you've got money, let's go. Because I just want to get some numbers on the board. You know what I mean? And then it would fast forward 6 or 12 months. I'm like, we don't see eye to eye on this at all. You don't believe in my vision.
Did you ever get the problems where your franchises would create products that aren't on your menu, that aren't in the product development stage as well, and sell things that weren't inside the franchise handbook?
You get people that try and push the envelope, but I encourage creativity. So I'm like, if you've got ideas, come to me. We're still small enough now that let's all get together. I'm not pretending I know everything, and we're working together and we're in an agreement together because you're also good. So
one thing that would be really good for Milky Lane is to have a commercial kitchen set up.
It's always been the dream.
Where you just have your top people in there just creating these viral products, and someone in there social media looking at what products are popping up.
Ideally, I'd pump everything out of a centralized kitchen. All the sauces would be made in there. I'd be baking my buns. Yeah, not only from a cost perspective, but for quality control.
Right.
Because I've got great suppliers and they do a great job, but I'm relying on somebody else. I'm relying on somebody else to get it to the store. I'm relying on somebody else to bake the bread. I'm relying on somebody else to make the sauce. And, the goal, like you said, man, has always been to have that kitchen. We always wanted to have a test kitchen connected to one of our offices. We always dreamt of like, let's get this mad double-story warehouse space with a test kitchen downstairs and a place for shoots as well. So just we house it all under the one roof.
And then own the commercial real estate it sits into.
Yeah, well, that's the dream. So, we have a really good network of people at the moment, I believe. There's always battles.
So say I come to you now and I say, hey, I want to buy the rights to Milky Lane and I want to set one up in Miami.
Yeah,
right?
cool.
I'm talking Miami in America, not Miami down the road.
I figured you might be.
So how much is it costing me? How much is it setting me back?
It depends. So just for your franchise fees, which you pay up front, that's around $60,000. And there's $15,000 towards the marketing, $15,000 or $20,000 towards the training. I'm putting up the training fee a little bit at the moment because I'm like, that is the one thing that's going to set you up for success, is training. You look at McDonald's and you have to do a year training before they decide if they will give you a store.
So really then, because that's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things for starting a business, but where the real money comes in, design and build.
Yeah, the design's not even too bad, but everybody wants these big stores with bells and whistles. I want, and I wanted that too, and it's hard to fill a restaurant that's 250, 300 seats all day, every day. So you could, and an empty restaurant, or not even an empty restaurant, but a restaurant at 20% capacity on a Monday lunch, doesn't have that same atmosphere that we pride ourselves on.
I went to a few cheesecake factories in America on the way through, and I've been to some in Dubai as well, some here. But I went to cheesecake factory, and if there's one in Santa Monica that's nice, small, condensed, and it's buzzing. But then they've created this one on the other side in LA. They've created this one which is like a massive, great big warehouse.
Feels entirely different.
Yeah, like it loses that feel because everyone's so far away. Your servers are spread out. Your servers are doing like 15 miles a day, walking, serving the food, right? So the size of the restaurant has a big importance to how it feels, how the atmosphere you can create. You imagine,
and you can, you can put out as much revenue out of a place that's got 120 seats, but it's busy all the time, as a place that's got 200 seats. Yeah. And I used to be like, well, you need, the sweet spot for us is around 160, 170 seats. So they're not small restaurants, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're quite a decent size. But it took a long time to kind of figure that out, man. Like, damn, I've made mistakes, and it's, I'm 7 years in now or something. And I think I said to you before, people are under the impression that I'm living on a super yacht, driving a fleet of supercars, and that I just wipe my butt with money every day. And I'm like, mate, it's not like that.
You keep it all in the business, yeah?
Yeah, you're also gonna make mistakes, and mistakes cost you money. So, if everything was linear, which it isn't, it's anything but linear. You think it's linear, and you kind of call someone, you go, you know what? I reckon this is all sweet now. And then you get this, and then it's like we invested into things and ideas and concepts that now in hindsight, I look at it and I'm like, what were you doing? But at the time, because I was so full of bravado, and you need bravado, don't get me wrong, you've got to believe in yourself. You've got to believe that you could change a suburb. But, even if you can't, Frankie, believe that you can bring back an icon.
Yeah, you have to believe it. I mean, I think
weigh it up, do the numbers. Like, everything on paper said you will not build a successful restaurant in King's Cross because this place hasn't pumped for 5 years.
Right.
And it was like literally it's turned into Pilates studios and yoga studios and, bread shops.
So read the room is what you're saying.
Read the room, man. Read. And listen to what people are saying if you trust their opinion.
Yeah.
And these are people that I've known for 15, 20 odd years, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a threat. And they were like, not sure if that's the best move, mate. We've got a cracking venue across the road. This was a nightclub. I think it was called Flamingo Lounge. It used to be called Hugo's Lounge.
Yeah.
One of the most iconic venues ever in Australia. And my friends Paulada and Eric owned it. And they're like, love you, mate. You're doing well, but don't know if this is the one. And I'm like, fucking watch out, mate. You'll be calling me in 4 weeks saying, how have you done this? So because I've made mistakes, I've reinvested. For me, it's a long game for me, Frankie. I think you get overnight success stories, but even the overnight success stories have been working on it for 10 years. You know what I mean? It's like no one just woke up and made $20 million overnight without working on this.
Of course, brother.
You just see the end result.
People say, I mean, I was looking over some of the points before we had this conversation, and it's like you've got 4 sites opening up in Bali that are going to launch and 6 sites in Canada.
So I haven't spoken about this to anyone yet. So this will be the first time. So the Bali deal's 90% done. The Canada deal's 90% done. That one came around, that's in Toronto. So that came around about a year ago.
Are they all going to be in Toronto? All of them?
Canada? Yes. Yeah. So he's getting like an area developer agreement is what they're looking into for Toronto. They own a franchise of pizza places over there already. So they're really good. This floated to us about a year and a half ago, worked on it for a while, and then it just went dead. And I was like, fuck. I'm like, this one's gone. It's finished. And they'd paid like a deposit and everything. And this was for us to get all the documentation done. And then about a few weeks ago, my business partner called me. He said, you wouldn't believe it. I said, what? He said, mate, Canada's back on. And I went, you're kidding me. So, for me, I've always thought that this brand is primed for America and Asia. Asia, like that, man. Like
all the key cities that we talked about. You're Dubai, you're Miami, you're LA.
Instagram, bro, don't they? Anything that's just
even London as well. Even London would be good.
Yeah, man. So I just think that's gonna. They say that if you can make a hospitality business work in Australia, you can do it anywhere in the world because it is the hardest market.
Why is that?
Why is that? Because our wage costs are through the roof. Yeah. So, America, they're probably around 15-20%. I think they are. Here, you're impossible to get under 30%. Unless you're doing full just QR ordering and having zero interaction.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not me. So then your cost of goods are through the roof. Build everything. It's like, so you get these American brands that come over here. Like you've seen Carl's Jr. just shut up shop. What was the other one that came over here recently? And they didn't last more than Five Guys. Five Guys has been here for 4 years. They've got 2 stores.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So everyone comes over here with this pipe dream of like, Australia's the cash cow. And then they get sent packing with their tail between their legs. So can you imagine how much backing someone like Carl's Jr. has?
Well, Starbucks, didn't it?
Yeah, man. Like
Starbucks came here. And
still here, but it's not nothing.
But they had to shut loads of stores, didn't they?
Man. Yeah. So everyone, I think, has this impression of like, that's why I'm confident because we've created a business model now that works here. We've set up systems and processes that work here. I'm almost glad that I didn't expand when I was going to years ago. I think I mentioned to you, one of my good friends moved over to Dubai, I think it was actually. He was in the promotion event scene, working with some really big names over there. You probably know them when I go back through it all.
Sam. You know Sam?
No, it was one of my good mates from Sydney. Anyway, so he's connected with a bunch of big groups over there. He said, mate, can you put together a deck for me, like a presentation? I want to put this in front of some big players over here. Cool, no drama. Sent it to him. He's like, mate, they're in. They want to do the GCC. They're asking, can you do an alcohol-free version for Qatar? I think it was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, sweet. So I'm working on all this and it was going to go through. And if that had, I probably would have bombed it, to be honest, because I wasn't ready.
God works in mysterious ways, bro.
Yeah, man. I thought that, I'm a believer in if you get things wrong, it's okay. It's okay. But if I got that wrong there, I'm not going back there. It's that simple. So if I roll out a network of stores with one of the biggest groups over there, and I'm doing, Bahrain, Dubai, Qatar, fucking everything you think of, right? And I bomb it. It doesn't affect my operations here. Because nobody here cares what I'm doing over there. But over there, I feel like you've got one crack and you've got to go all out. So if I'd done it then, it wouldn't have worked. I didn't have the right when I say people, I don't mean that they weren't great people. They were great people, but they weren't people that can set up a deal for overseas. So probably would have got me. It would have bitten me.
How important is it then to have the right people on the boat when it comes to having the structures right so that you can get these deals over the line?
The most important thing I've done, I've had some incredible people work for me over the last 8 years. Sadly, 3 of them left the company about 2 years ago, and that was one of the hardest things for me ever because they weren't just friends, they were family to me. They were literally like, I used to call them my brothers and sisters. So, you know, I used to have like a one-shoe-fits-all theory for managing staff. And that's not the case. Everyone reacts differently to different things. Everybody feels appreciated in different ways. Some people like money. Some people like a pat on the back. Some people like an early mark. Some people like, you know, words of affirmation. If I managed everybody with the way that I want to manage them, I'm not going to get the best out of every person. So for me, it was understanding, like, what motivates you? What are you driven by? How do you feel respected the most in the workplace? I was such good friends with these people that maybe I didn't listen to that enough because I was just like, you know, we're so tight that, and they would bleed for this brand, man. Like they were just weapons. Like, they were workhorses, and I miss them so, like dearly. So having the right people that not only align with your vision and your dream, but people that are going to be there for you when shit goes down. Yeah. Because it's not going to be easy, man. And these guys never jump ship. Yeah. They were like ride or dies. They were like, you're in it, we're in it too.
Do you give people a bit of ownership for that in percentage terms when you bring people on?
I would like to in future.
Yeah.
Most definitely. A profit share, equity share wouldn't make a lot of sense for me unless it was somebody really, really good. Profit share 100%, Frankie. I think that
I think profit shares are really good because everyone wins on a profit share.
Couldn't agree more.
Whereas when
I don't make money, you don't make money.
And when you give away equity, I think people can get lazy because they've just got their equity and they can just sit there. So you get a lot of what I term as equity squatters in businesses. They work hard till they get the equity. Once they got the equity, that's them. Then they're like, "Oh, cool, I'm set now."
Couldn't agree more.
And equity squatters are my like biggest nightmare. I mean, I've had some scenarios I've seen in other businesses where it's happened, and it's happened in early days of my business too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's. I've got a good team now. I'm looking to expand them, you know, because like I said, to 10x it, I've got to have some really rock solid people with me because I still work, you know, I worked in the restaurant at Bondi for 5 years and people would come in and they say to me, man, why are you still working here, bro? Like, you're the founder. And I'm like, this is why they respect me. I'm like, I'm covered in like thick shape mix up to my arms. I've got grease all over me. I'm washing dishes. They're calling me on a Friday afternoon saying, hey man, someone's called in sick. What are you doing? I'm like, be there at 5. And I'm on the floor. And people are just rocking up going, I don't get it. And I'm like, that's the thing. You don't have to get it, but look at the way that they speak to me. You know what I mean? Look at nothing's too hard for people that feel appreciated and respected. And there's no better way than to get that than to be one, I feel. And to not be one all the time because there has to be, you know, leadership isn't just doing what they do. But I feel that, you know, people need to see that you can roll your sleeves up and you will get dirty if you have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who do you respect more, you personally? You know, would you respect the guy that goes, Frankie, mate, move over, bro. We're going to get in there together.
Yeah,
would you respect the guy that goes, Frankie, mate, can you do that a bit faster, please?
Yeah.
You're going to be like, this fella's on my level. We're in the trenches. We're one in, all in. And I did that for so long that I think that's why we built such a special camaraderie. And that team I had at Bondi, man, were just like mind-blowing. The second you walked in the door, they were all internationals because there's a lot of backpackers down in Bondi. So Brazilians, and I had, you know, Swedes and, you know, everything that you could imagine. And they were a team that stayed there for like years. I even sponsored one of the guys that was working in my kitchen, Nepalese guy, absolute weapon, man. I'm like, I can't lose you, bro. He's like, man, I've got to leave. Ended up sponsoring him to stay here. And, yeah.
But that changes his life and gives him a whole new chance, doesn't it?
You wouldn't believe, like, this guy used to catch a train. It used to take him 2.5 hours each way to work. So he'd have to get 3 different trains and a bus. So we ended up getting him a car. Because I'm like, man, this guy's like missing 3 hours a day with his family potentially when he could be doing a 40-minute drive. So we got him a car. Changed his life. So easy to do. And this guy was bleeding pink and blue for the rest of his life, man. He was committed to us. And he was the best chef, man. Like, so good.
Still work for you now?
No, he doesn't, because whatever he went through, he relocated to one of the other stores. So I had to shut the Bondi store, which was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do.
So that was the first store you had?
First store. Yeah. And I was so emotionally attached to it. But it got to the point where during COVID, the landlord wouldn't reduce the rent. There was a demolition clause on that building, so I knew that it was going one day. And it was falling apart internally. Like, it was an old building. So, like, it would flood. Every time it rained, we'd be in there with 20 towels, right? Because they had this glass roof section at the back, which was retractable. They used to open up the whole roof there. And the thing used to leak, and there would be pools of water on the floor. We'd call in electricians, and we're like, hey, guys, like, something's wrong here. They're like, mate, I'm not touching this venue. It's that old. Like, this thing's going to catch fire one day. And so we were just like, and I said to my business partners, I'm like, mate, we need to keep going. We need to keep going. They're like, you're not making a smart business decision. You're making an emotional decision. They're like, look at the rent. Look at what's, like, it's not adding up anymore. It served its purpose. And I couldn't let go, Frankie. I was like, that was where everything started. I've still got the photo, the first day when I signed that lease there. And I was like, I can't let go of this. And I went, I can't keep bleeding money at this point. It's done some amazing things. And we still get asked all the time to go back there. Would I go back to Bondi? Probably not.
I think the brand's evolved too much and knows the numbers too much to be able to go there and make it work, man. Now. Yeah. When you don't know the numbers that you know now, you can, like, beg, borrow, and steal your way to having a venue there.
Yeah.
But you're not smashing it. You can't smash it because the margins aren't there. But it was good because it's where you learnt your trade. It's where you all learnt to be restaurateurs.
Yep.
Like, you all learnt that there.
Yeah.
The chefs learnt how to produce more food than they'd ever had to produce in their life.
God, it was crazy the way they could put food out, Frankie. Like, we were putting out, like, our busiest store is over in Perth. Man, and that they can do 6,000-7,000 people a week in one store. So you look at 1,000 people a day almost.
Crazy, isn't it?
You know what I mean? And when I tell people, I think that store, did their biggest week was just under $300,000. And when you think about that, right, how many hamburgers that is. We're not like a fine dining restaurant that has an average order value of $300.
What is the average order value?
$70, $80. You know what I mean? So take that into account, right? There would be, I could count on one hand, I reckon, the restaurants in Australia that are able to do $250,000 a week.
Will one of your stores ever be able to do $1 million a week?
I just wouldn't build one big enough, to be honest.
Right. What do you reckon it caps out?
For the group will happen by the end of the year.
Right.
And I remember when I did a $40,000 a week at Bondi, I was just like, what? And I haven't been too fixated on it. I remember I said years ago, it was a whiteboard thing. I was like, $1 million a week. And then I just left that and just went, I just keep focusing on what I'm doing. $1 million a week's going to come, $2 million a week will come, you know what I mean? And if I just get really good at what I do, because, and this is what I say to my team all the time, what we do isn't rocket science. We serve hamburgers, we serve drinks, and we do it with a smile. There's a lot of shit inside that. But if we serve good food and good drinks and we do it with a smile, for the most part, we're going to do well. Sounds easy. It's not, man. As you scale out, you know what I mean, and you lose that touch of being able to just walk into the Bondi store and check on things and, hey, what's going on here? So then you're like, how am I monitoring a store that's 5,000 kilometres away? It's just making sure you've got good people in your network. And that's like, I turn down and turn away quite a lot of applicants that we get now. So I would say I'd probably approve 5% of people that come through.
That's from your learning lesson from the early days.
Man. Yeah, because I tell you there's nothing worse than going toe to toe with someone for 2 years. It's draining. These people have invested, their hard-earned money, their life savings in some situations. I need to make you successful. But to make you successful and to help you be, great, and we need to align. And I can tell straight away on the first call, man. Like, I can tell now. 2 minutes in, I'm like sending a text message to my business partner. I'm like, you know what I mean? I can just feel it. There's an energy. There's a reciprocal understanding. You know, some people I get on the phone, they're like, hi, what does $50,000 get me? That's it. And I'm like, what? Hi, nice to meet you. What do you do? Where are you from? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
You know, put your forms through. And other people that will just reel off their favourite Milky Lane moments from the last 5 years. I'm like, okay, keep going. You know, oh my God, do you still do X, Y, Z? I remember when that blew up on your social media and I've been watching.
So they've took an interest in the brand and they've followed the journey a bit so they understand it.
That means so much to me now. So the growth slowed down, maybe, a little bit. But I'm not shutting stores now. So, you know, it's like, so I'm not successful if I open 7 and shut 5. Like that's not good.
How many stores are open at the moment?
13, I think. I've got 2 more opening this year. I've got 9 opening next year. That's what's booked in already. I'd love to get that to 12. To go to 12, I need to build a bigger team. I need to build a new store opening team of people that are like, you know, tactical assault team that I just deploy.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, this is where you go next. This is where you go next. Train.
There's a brand, obviously different, slightly different, but in a similar niche. It's like, it's called Fireway Pizzas in the UK. You heard of them? You see, so. he only like franchised one year, then he franchised like 3 the next year, then 5, and then he went 40.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
You know what I mean? So, and what I learned from studying the guy was the fact that he's doing what he did, what you did. He built the team, worked the process out, and this, that, and the other. He actually said one of his most humbling moments was the first franchise he did, done twice the revenue of his main store.
Oh wow!
So it's like, is it quite a humbling experience for him to go through? It's like it's like you know, you think you've got it down pat, and then you open a franchise, and
you meet another operator that just goes
right. He's absolutely full sending it.
Yep.
So, and they're opening. I think they're opening like 40 to 80 stores a year now. Like,
I can't even get my head around the size of the team that you would need to do that.
Yeah, but you can't get around it at the moment.
Because I'm not 10x
because you're not there right now, but you got to build it to go there.
Well, 4 years ago, where I am now, I would have said, I don't know how to get to there. But, you know, I feel like we're in a good position. I feel like I've never lost my focus. I actually saw someone the other day saying you should never turn, someone quite famous. What was it about? I can't remember what it was. Something to do with like passion and creativity and don't cross it over with your work. And I just completely disagree. Because there's days where you're going to wake up and be like, not today. You have to love your craft. You have to obsess over it.
With everything that I've been through in the last 9 months, 10 months, it would have been so easy for me to quit the podcast. Yeah, it would have been so easy. Because like, I've just had punch after punch after punch land on my chin, bro.
It's hard, man. Some days you're like, I should just go work at Woolworths.
And do you know what I mean? Like, and when you put your heart and soul into something, like I feel that I do with every rep that I do with this podcast, and then when you see, like, even though I'm concentrating on what I'm doing, because I know what we're producing here is a value. I believe that I get the right information out of people that can change their life. Even though you believe that, it's like, it's hard, because when you look over there, someone who puts out the most woeful stuff but just has the viral guy on does 200k subs in a week, and it's like, why do I even get out? Like, you know, I should just fucking stick to shaving my head in the shower and just fuck this all off. But you can't think like that. You got to
love it, bro.
But that's a true testament of someone who loves the art. See, I always say to people, like, I'm not just trying to make people listen to a conversation. I'm trying to make them feel the conversation as well.
I can see that.
Have the depth of feel in what they're doing, because I believe from listening and feeling what people are saying, that's when you can create transformation. So when you know what you're about, and here's the key point, when you know what you're about, you can go and keep bringing that light to the world, and you just got to be confident in what you're doing and not really look at the blinkers are going to fall off sometimes. You're going to see someone else doing some shit. You haven't got time to worry about it.
I've done that so many times.
You just haven't got time to worry about it. I mean,
double down on what I do, man. It's like, I've had so many other business opportunities in the last like couple of years. People are like, oh, you've done well with that. Do you want to do this? And I'm like, I'm at that crucial point now where
say no.
And I'm the last remaining founder of Milky Lane. So everyone else is scooted.
Yeah.
I'm the DNA that remains, you know what I mean? And the Milky Lane brilliance on social media was 16 to 20, probably 21. We're still doing very well, obviously, but, you know, and I think if I took even 20% of my attention away from this, I would be doing a disservice to the people that have invested into this company, to my staff, to myself. I don't want to be here for another 10 years, man. Like, you know, that's not the goal. When do I want to exit? I would never exit until I believe that the legacy is going like that.
So what would be an exit number that you'd consider?
You know, it used to be 100 million and then it grew to 200 million. With this international stuff, you know, I was talking Australia only at that point. You know what I mean? Franchises can go for 8, 10, 12 time multiples. You know what I mean? So,
and if you can build some IP around the supply chain in terms of, like, you know,
the values,
own the commercial facility that produces the buns, that produces the ice cream, that produces this, that, the other, all this stuff in house, and sell it to all your stores, which reduces the store's cost but also increases your margin. If you can do all that, that creates an even more valuable machine that you can sell, and now you're talking a lot more money, especially if you can own the commercial real estate that sits in as well.
McDonald's model.
Yeah.
I'd love to, but, you know, I don't even know what I'd do after this, man. I would be bored. I breathe it. I sleep it. I still run our social media. And it's like...
Well, you do all the posting?
Yeah.
Hold on. you do all...
I post, I do community engagement, I do the inboxing.
Yeah.
I'm at every single content shoot. I'm writing content briefs.
Really? So that's the one part of the business.
Is like, let go of it. Don't be a
I don't think so.
Every time I do, Frankie, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, it doesn't... If I hated it and if it felt monotonous to me, it did for a little while. I started to get like, bro, we can get 300-400 inboxes a week. You know what I mean? So on a Saturday, guests don't care. They will complain at 5 a.m. from the night before. So I'm laying in bed. The first thing I see when I wake up is, you did this last night and you were storing Parramatta. And it started to get emotionally draining for me. You know what I mean? Because whilst I get to post all the glory, I'm also dealing with the hate.
You can outsource the DMs to
I can. Yeah. Look, we do have a group that we're using at the moment that are helping with that sort of stuff. I still do all the story sharing and stuff like that. Reason being, I can see what's happening in the store. So I actually use that to see, like, what are they putting out.
So you control
I'll freeze frame a video and I can see what store it is. And then I'm looking at the products, the burgers, the cocktails, the desserts, and I can actually pinpoint if something's not right. So it's like my little... You know, my little set of eyes into what's happening.
So it's good that whilst the brand's growing, you can outsource all the things that you don't like, and you're just keeping your eyes on the actual prize. 100%. On the quality.
You know, it's my baby, that social media account. I built it up. It's still bigger than McDonald's in Australia. It's bigger than Hungry Jack's. It's bigger than Domino's. Bigger than KFC. And I remember when I hit that milestone, I was like chasing them down, and I was like, you know, bat out of hell at that point. We were growing like 5,000 people a week. And I was like, I remember when I got to it, and I'm like, and people were like, yeah, it doesn't mean nothing. You're not as big as them. And I went, no, I'm not. But we're living in a world where social media is really fucking important. And I've just surpassed the biggest brands in Australia. So what does that say? Does it say I'm successful? Definitely not. What it says is that I'm creating better content than you, and content now is king. So...
So how many people are there on the content team? Is there just one person creating the content?
Yeah, bro, we literally shoot content 2 days a month. We just get together. So I either drive up to my Brisbane store or I fly down to Sydney.
Yeah.
And we get together, and it's still the same guy pretty much that shot content for me in 2017 to...
So you just make all the new creations and everything else?
All the new creations. So we'll do like one food porn shoot, which is just generic menu stuff, you know, whether it's cheese paws, veals, you know, kind of like cool stuff, dry ice, dress it up. And then we do 5 monthly specials every month too. So we do a burger, a cocktail, a dessert, a side, and like a shot or like a share cocktail we do.
I mean, what's your advice then? Because like everyone says everyone's vision seems to be like, for a lot of these chefs and people like that do this kind of work or love food, they're all like, oh, I want to open a restaurant. And I always tell people, stupid idea to open a restaurant.
People ask me, well, I hate to say it, but if I went back and I had the ability to channel this creativity in a different industry, I potentially would. Not because I don't love it, I'm obsessed with it. But the margins are small, and it's hard, and it's a lot of hours. You know what I mean? You go into other industries and they could be doing 30-40% profit margins, you know what I mean? Hospitality, at the moment, you're killing it if you can get to double figures, man.
Yeah. Well, so even round here locally, I saw like Shami opened a restaurant and shut it down, didn't he?
Mate, it is. And
so
people
difficult.
just think it's going to be like a good laugh. And, you know, I'll put some food on the menu and we'll cook it. And I'm like, mate, wastage, staff, you know, meals, every single little thing. If your chicken, which we've weighed it out to be 170 grams and the recipe card is 190 grams, and they're meant to come in at 170, but hey, again, as I said, the chicken supplies sometimes aren't reliable. If you're doing 190s for a week, your cogs are completely out and you've potentially not made money. So there's just so many things that you need to watch and analyze. I remember about 4 years ago, I was like, I'm in too deep now. This is me. Like this is me. I'm like, you know, is there an eject button at this point? Because I'm like, this is really fucking hard. And I'm like, nah, double down. Let's go. Let's ignore everything else. And that's what I'm doing right now, man. I'm in a good place mentally, finally. You know, which is super important for me. The calm that I feel and my focus with work and everything else around me is going, well, I understand that you need to be able to
detach.
But, you know, relationships, Frankie, you know, like it really
what's it been like with, you know, having a woman in your life when you've got so much to do, or has it helped? Or
for me, it does. But making, like, when it's, when everything's great, which it is for the most part, it's like a superpower for a man. You know what I mean? You know yourself, you know, when you've got the right woman there that's like, you know, I believe in you, I support you.
I think for moments throughout this whole like podcast journey, I've had moments where there's been a couple of ex-girlfriends I've had that where they have been supportive at the time, but then
they're not for the most part.
But for the most part, I've been battling them on
and
the.
That affects what you do.
Yeah, it really has.
Do you feel the difference? Do you feel the effect?
Yeah, like I think if you have a good woman to support you and sees the vision, but it's hard to see the kind of vision that I've got, because my vision for this is fucking
scary.
massive.
Yeah, it scares normal people.
Scares.
And if it doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. And you know, for me, when I have been through relationships that weren't good,
yeah,
mate, it could take me away from my work completely. I mean, for a week, to the point where I'd be like, fuck meetings. I don't want to do any work today because my head's in a million different places. So for me, I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, if you don't bring peace to my life right now, you don't have a place, because the next few years we're going to take off. So if you want to be with me, that's cool. But if you don't want to be with me, that's also cool.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's going to get serious now. And she even said that to me the other day. She went, does this mean you've got like even more coming up? And I'm like, yeah, I do.
It's intimidating.
It is scary. It's scary for me as well, because.
But here's what I was saying to you before the podcast. I think it really landed with you. But I want the audience to say it. Guys, I've been reading this book called like 10x is better than 2x, right? And I was explaining this to Christian before the podcast about this book and the revelations I'm having with it. And I've also been reading a book called Die with Zero, which is written by Bill Perkins, famous commodities trader, right? Friends with Dan Blazarian and all that. I realised that at certain points in life, yeah, you can have as much money as you like, but if you're not in the time zone where you can have the experience that you want to have with that money, it's useless to you, like in broad spectrum. I realised that as a 36-year-old man, I literally have 9 years left at top level to fully fucking send it, because at 45, that is when like you're not done, but in terms of like the energy that I have now so literally like I'm like, right. So when I read this, I was like, obviously I came to Australia and it's been great for me, and I've done a couple of months here now, and it's been fucking great. I love this place. I love it, bro. I love the fucking view. I love the people.
We love your stories, man. We love your stories.
Bro, I fucking love it. I was explaining this to you.
Makes me smile, to be honest, man, when I see it. Your gratitude and just your happiness to be here.
Unbelievable, undeniable. But I sat on the sofa and I thought to myself, what does 10X Frankie Lee podcast look like? And I started to write it.
Not sat on that couch, is he?
I started to write it out, and I looked at the view, and I realised in that moment, I'm like, Frankie, this is your comfort zone, brother. Like you've done this.
And you're going to stay here for too long.
Yeah. You need to get moving again, brother. You need to get moving. And then
I think that's you, man. Yeah. I don't think you're going to be stopped anywhere for too long.
I think because I like coming over here, having Australian guests like yourself on that I want to talk to, but I just don't want to talk to just to fill my time with guests, right? I don't want to do that. I only ever have conversations I want to have with people I like, right? So that's a non-negotiable.
The same doing them online with,
I don't mind doing those if I want to have the conversation either, but I have to, first and foremost is I want to be passionate about the conversation.
Cool.
So it's so important. I want everyone that's listening to this to understand that you have to look at where you are and go, yeah, it's comfortable, but is it your 10X version of you? And you've only got you've only got a short window of time, right, to fucking send it, right? And like literally, like me and you have only got till like, I'm not saying we're done at 45, but at 45,
did you not?
At 45, brother, at 45, I'm going to come up with high energy at 45, but I've got to give it a nudge, mate. When am I ever
going to get to that age and you're still not there? That's kind of when you start to go. I think leading into that even is when you start to go, I don't believe, you read those things, it's like there's no time limit on it. Colonel Sanders started KFC at 67 and Oprah Winfrey, and it's like, yeah, I get it, but I don't want to be working these hours at 65, mate, not even at 55.
But I sat there, right, and I noticed it resonate with a lot of people, but I sat there and I thought to myself, right, Frankie, you're 36, you're in good shape, you got your health, you love podcasting, you've got the ability with your business online and how it's structured to be anywhere in the world. You got no misses at the moment. Yep. You've got the fucking time. If you're going to send,
you are not
if you're going to send it now, bro. Like send the rocket, send the fucking rocket. Push the button, bro. And I was like, right. I rang my mate. I'm like, mate, I think I'm going to pop back to Dubai. So I thought, right, I'll go back to Dubai for a couple of months. I'll see how that.
So you've booked it?
Yeah, I booked it, mate. Yeah, I booked it.
Leave?
I'm not telling anyone on the
I'm trying to get you. But I got you there.
I booked it. I thought, right, I'll go back to Dubai for a period of time, see if I like it there. But I want to do like Dubai, Miami. I want to just full send it again. Yeah. Because I'm like, when am I ever going to get the opportunity to do it again? Yeah. No, I'm never going to be 36 again. I'm never going to have this opportunity again.
Not even just that, Frankie. If you fall in love in 6 months, you know what I mean, and you're somewhere else. That might be you there.
That might be.
Yeah.
And
now
look,
you got nothing keeping you here.
Look, I'm literally like, I'm open to meeting the right woman that will support my vision, that sees me achieving what I want to achieve.
And I think when you do, she'll 10X you.
I
do believe that that's going to be that missing thing.
100%. I know that having the right woman on the mission,
powerful, man,
is the most powerful
woman.
But the wrong,
equally powerful.
But the wrong woman, especially like,
it can bring down the empire, bro.
Well, brother, I've just found like some of the most spicy, fucking hot things in the world.
Yeah,
can cause me the most drama.
I was going to say it to you before, actually.
Yeah. Like they just cause you drama. So like.
Focus on you, brother. But build the life.
But the message I want you all to get is: look at the window of time you have. Look at the window of time. In all seriousness, look at the window of time. Yes, you might be 25. Okay, if you're 25 right now and you're listening to this, you're 25. Okay, you got till 45. You got 20 years. Cool. You can take a little bit more time. Yep. Me, I ain't got the time, brother. I'm fucking. I need to go. I need to.
This is it, man.
Like, I've got 9 fucking years. Like, you know what I mean? Let's fucking go.
Yeah, I've been motivated to 10X as soon as I leave here, man. Seeing that before, it's good because I spend a lot of time alone, as I told you. So I'm not around a lot of business-minded people as much as I need to be. And every time I am, I leave feeling like, let's go. It's time to lift. And even just within 1 minute of seeing you, Christian, mate, are you 10Xing? And I'm like, what? I'm like, mate, I'm 3Xing and I'm comfortable. Can you fucking leave me alone for a minute? Yeah, and I'm like, I need to be that push, man.
No, because I know this brand smashes it here. I know it will smash it in Canada. I know it will smash it in Bali. But I'm like, zoom out. Like, you can get this into the GCC. You can get this into America, into flagship stores in Miami, LA. You know what I mean?
I think you need to get it in Dubai, Frankie.
Yeah, mate.
You got the people, bro.
Yeah, I might have the people. I might have the people in Miami as well, brother, or LA too. But I'm saying, you imagine. I like to think about. I like to vision things. So before I even had this conversation or this podcast, I visioned how it would go and the lessons that we could teach people and bring through this conversation. Right? I'm visioning that before I even sit down.
I can tell, man.
Right?
Like when I saw you, like I was like, wow, he's got it all.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, I've already seen in my mind, like, who would be turning up at that event at Milky Lane to open it in LA? Who would be turning up at Miami? I've seen it in my head. I was like, fuck me. And when I was mentioning it to you before the podcast, she's like, I see your eyes light up. You know when your eyes light up that you got to fucking send it. You have
100%, bro.
Because you got to see a bigger picture, haven't you?
That's so true what you said. I've been seeing a NLP guy for a while now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've done anything with NLP.
Yeah, Neuro-linguistic programming, yeah.
And I was talking about this other thing that, I was thinking about it. It was just something that I was offered. And he's like, man, you need to put yourself there. You need to wake up every morning like you're going to that job. You need to get dressed like that's where you're going. You need to drive past, every day and look at it and imagine what it's going to look like. Imagine what the people are going to be doing there. Imagine what they're going to be saying. Imagine what the color palette is. He said, you have to become it. He said, and then you'll know it. Yeah. So I was like, for like a couple of weeks, I was waking up every morning going, all right, we're going to work today. This is where we're going. This is what we've got to do. This is what we've got to look after. Is that going to be a problem with what we're doing? And he goes, you really have to put yourself there. And it's so true with what you just said then, man. Like, I need to.
It's like, I love Australia. Australia is part of my life forever, and I represent Australia everywhere I go podcasting. I'm representing.
I reckon you do. Bro.
I'm representing the country. No podcaster in this whole country's history has podcasted in more countries than me. And podcasting with the people that I've podcasted with.
That's why I'm here, mate.
No, I'm saying, I'm not going to say that with any ego. I'm like, no, because I've been Miami, LA, Dubai, all these places, because I fucking love it, right?
Yeah.
So if you feel like you've got to represent a country that you fucking love, you can't just sit in the fucking same place. Like, you can't.
I agree,
you can't represent.
You got to go show the world.
You can't. So all these fuckers that are sat in studios in Sydney or sat in studios in Melbourne, they don't know what I'm talking about, because they ain't never felt what I felt. Like, because you got to go taste the world, brother. You got to take it to the world.
That's why I like your stuff, man. And I think for me, the people that you have on there resonate more with me than other podcasters that I see. And, I've been watching it, and I was going back through it again the other day, showing my partner, and she's like, oh my God, I love that girl. I love that guy. Oh my God, I watch his stuff all the time. And it's just like, man, these are people that are now. You're getting the movers and shakers now that people are looking at going, I've been watching that guy. The podcast is on the cusp. It needs some things to happen. I know what needs to happen with it. That's why that's why I've been quiet lately. I've just been building out my content team and structuring stuff to make sure that we can get to the point where we take it. And it's like, but I want to do Australian first. Like, this is not the first time you've ever been on a podcast, right? First time in my whole life, mate.
Yeah, but this
I said I want to do one. This is it. I'm done now. As soon as I leave here, mate, my boots are hung up. I've told the story. I'm back to work. That's it.
No, but it's beautiful, because, like, for me, I brought Davey Fogarty to the podcast game, Adrian Portelli to the podcast game, Paul Richardson to the podcast game. Like, I've brought a lot of people for their first podcast, because I think like yourself, they see that you're passionate about it, and
that's why I came in. That's the only reason I came here. I've been asked so many times, and I'll have a flick through it, and I'm like, as I said, it's not something I've been bursting at the seams to do, because, as I said to you, mate, I'm happier sat at home with my dog, just working in silence, But I wanted to do it, and I said to someone this morning, this is my one and done. You know what I mean? I'll come back again when I sell it. I'll come back again, and we'll talk about how many countries I'm in, and what it was worth, and what life looks like now, and how someone else can grow a $200-300 million company. Because
I said to you,
we'll do that.
I said to you, we do this one. I said we do part 2 when you sell the brand.
Yeah.
Right. And I think you'll sell it for at least probably 150, 200.
And I would love to. I'll come out to Dubai. We'll shoot it there.
Wherever
you are,
wherever
I
am,
I'll come to you.
And here's the thing: I'm not saying for me. I'm not saying Dubai is the place like all the time. At this moment in time, with the junction that I'm feeling, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling like I need to go, right?
Me too.
So I'm thinking 2 months here, 2 months there, 2 months here, 2 months there. That's how my life's going to be for the next 12 months because I just feel.
And you can.
Yeah.
Not many people can.
Well, you got to create. You got to create that. I mean, people look at that, and it's like I've built my business to be able to do that.
And they go, "You're lucky." That's what they say to me all the time. Right, I post something from my room or my balcony. Fuck, mate, you're so lucky. Hey, the amount of times I've been broke, the amount of times I've had to borrow money, I've been on the brink of just like I give up with everything. That's not luck.
Yeah.
If you keep persevering with anything, it is almost impossible to fail.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be good at it when you start, but if you just keep trying. Yeah.
I figured that like this might be some cost fallacy, but I feel like I've got half a decent podcast, right?
Mate, so, great. I've enjoyed it. We've been here 2 hours.
So I feel like, even though it might be some cost fallacy, I feel like I don't want to give up. I want to keep going, even though it's
upset if you did, mate.
Even though it's fucking hard. I just think, and I think the same view. It's like Milky Lane's like doing really well, but it can do so much more. So why wouldn't you just try fucking send it? I know you're going to, but
I think like, more people need to see what I'm doing. I'm not done.
Yeah,
I could sell today and live a good life.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But then what? Then what do I do? I'm like, I need to wake up and have something that motivates me to get out of bed. And you know, I think, you know, I don't know if I said it before, but success for me used to look like Lamborghinis and boats and jets.
Nah, that's not.
No, you know what? And don't get me wrong. It'll be nice. It'll be cool. But success for me now is just being really, really happy, genuinely happy. Not the happy that you see on social media, like proper happy. Like just waking up and going, fuck, I love my life. And I do that a lot of the time. And I'm like, man, I love this. And I want to do that. I want to be able to spend every day doing the things I love. Mm. Because for me to be time rich, you know, and not have to be, you know, glued to something that, you know, don't get me wrong, I love my job. I love what I do. But is it the absolute thing you love to do the most? And if you could do anything all day long, right, and money wasn't an issue, is this what you do? Maybe it is for the next year or two, but I believe there comes a point, and there will be for me, where it's like, you know, I like going to the gym, I like going on holidays, I like, you know, I want to be able to do what I want with my days. And the third thing for me is I want to be able to look after people, man. You know, for me, acts of service is the highest level of fulfillment for me. I read something that said, it might have been Jay Shetty that said it. He said, acts of service is the rent we pay for our time here on earth. And I couldn't agree more. And my partner's like, I've never met a man that loves giving back to people and doing things for people more than you do, without reciprocation.
It's not about the reciprocation.
Bro,
it's not about it.
Care. I don't care. Don't give me anything. I get more pleasure out of helping you with your day, knowing I've made your life better and easier than I do anything you can do for me. I can do everything for myself. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Let me help you. And for me, that is one of the most fulfilling things in the world, and people don't understand that. And like my partner all the time is like, what's the catch? Like, what do you want? And I'm like, nothing. Did it help you? Yes, cool.
Crack on.
Yeah, crack on. And for me, I can't describe it. And, you know, I'll jump in the car and go and pick up a mate, you know, at 3 o'clock in the morning, drive 4 hours. I don't care. You know what I mean? It's like, let me help. So I want to be able to make sure that the people that I've always loved have got everything that they need too.
Yeah, I love that, bro.
They don't take advantage of me. They don't take the piss.
I fully resonate with that because it's like everything that, in terms of this content that we're trying to create here right now, it's all about giving to other people.
100% it is.
It's like me and you'd have this conversation anyway, without recording it. So like,
I've forgotten that we're recording. To be honest, mate. You said just have a chat.
Yeah, it's just too. Like, I mean, I know the intricacies of your story and how it fits together, and you know, I know how I want to portray it in terms of how it can transform other people. Yeah. I just let it roll. You know what I mean? Let's let it roll.
I hope it does, man. I really hope it does. You know, I wanted to just do this thing because I've never spoken on camera. I've never spoken about anything that I've done. And I think a lot of people, you know, potentially will resonate with where I've been. And like, you know, whether it's they're in a rut of partying every single week or every single day, and they're like, you know, turning to alcohol or drugs or whatever it looks like, man. You know, they're kind of like, this guy gets it.
Yeah.
This guy's come through the other side. Don't get me wrong, I still have to go and have a drink and have fun. You know what I mean? But for me now, it's...
But there's got to be more. There's got to be more deeper purpose to that.
And I want, you know, I someone said to me, you know, I think people will resonate with you because it hasn't just... Your life, even now, is still a lot of people. I suffer social anxiety. I don't like being in large groups. You know what I mean? It's like I feel safest when I'm just, you know, at home working and I'm with my dog and, you know, I make magic happen. And I think a lot of people have a misconception based off of, you know, a public persona that they've, you know, potentially seen years ago when I used to be quite vocal.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, bro, that's not you at all. Everyone's like, people get to know you, man.
You put a lot of people are out there in the world putting out a version of themselves. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing what you can do when you actually show the world who you truly are.
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty. The reason I'm attracted so much to long form conversations is because it allows me to like articulate so much more about you and about me in long form than I can ever get articulated through short form content. And the connection and transformation that I've seen other people have on the back of long form content is unmatched. Yeah. So it's like it's an art, I think.
It is, man. I've never done anything like this before in my life.
Mate,
I thought I was going to sit here, and after 10 minutes, I'm like, what are we going to talk about? and we've breezed through 2.5 hours almost.
Yeah. I mean, I want to, there's a couple of things I want to dive into as well, business wise as well, again, because I want to pull out as much knowledge out of your head as possible. And it's something I forgot to touch upon, but I want to talk about structuring this franchise thing. You said that you structured it in a way that, you know, you're going to run with it now because it's done that way. But how would you advise people to structure franchising? Because I want to give people real actionable advice when it comes to that.
I get a lot of people writing to me. They're like, what do you recommend about franchising? Who's going to set it up for you? It's hard because you're trusting people with everything, with your brand. So you give up a lot of control. You have to make sure that, you know, everyone that you're working with is on the same page as you. The systems and processes that you set up, like that's what they say. McDonald's have always said that. It's just all systems and processes, man. And the systems and processes work at all different levels and they need to be really good. Your operations manual needs to just be flawless. And we had an ex-McDonald's guy write it up for us. Your training manuals, things like that, because you're effectively... handing this to somebody else, and whilst you're training them and you're providing all that, this is the blueprint that's going to set them up to be able to make money, to be able to be successful, to be able to deliver on what you've created. So, you know, I think it is a great business model. It gets a really bad rap. You know, there was a lot of stuff that happened recently with a franchisor that was, you know, ripping off, you know, the franchisees and overcharging, sending them stale products. It was, I'm trying to remember who the big group was. Do you remember it? It was recently. It was like a couple of years ago. And since then, franchising just got flogged in the media, man. Mm. There are a lot of people that are sharks and just, you know, adding huge rebates onto everything just to make head office successful. We had to give up most of our rebates recently, man, because like the COGS were getting so high, the costs were getting so high, and I couldn't bring the price down. I'm like, if my franchisees go broke, I go broke.
Walk me through, though, when is the right time to know when you can franchise your business? How do you know?
Good question, man. I've really thought about that. For us, it was just a demand that we were getting, and I knew that this needed to grow quickly, and that was the quickest way for me to be able to grow it.
But how did you sit there and assess that? I want to get in your mind here. Because I want everyone that leaves this podcast to understand the point when they can franchise their business, or even if it is in the right route. I really want to leave with that nugget.
That's a good one. I've never really thought about that. It's the first time you've got me in 2.5 hours. For us, as I said, man, I wanted as many people as possible to experience Milky Lane. And for me, to be completely honest, man, it's the only way that I could do it at that point.
No, I understand that's what you want. Yeah. But what I'm saying is,
how do you know when?
So yeah, like when you look back now,
yeah.
You look back, you franchise it. So so if you look back, look at the steps you took.
Yeah.
Why is it you knew at that point that was the time to franchise? What were the alarm bells ringing that said, right, franchising?
Well, for me, it was the demand.
Right.
It was the demand that we had. We couldn't facilitate it at one store.
So the key was when demand outstrips supply.
Completely.
I
couldn't get more people in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if people are driving 5 hours to come and get this product, now whether you're selling a lawnmower, whether you're selling a sandwich, it doesn't matter what it is. If people are just obsessing over your product and they're traveling to get it and they're talking about it and they just need it, I'm like, well, then you either need to, A, as I said, scale out on your own, or B, set up a franchise model. And for us, we just couldn't get any more people into that restaurant. And I was like, I think that we're losing money. I was like, I don't think we're making as much money as we can. We're not growing at the rate that we can grow. As we started to open more stores and franchise, our social media following grew. The media, like if you type in Milky Lane in any location in Australia, there's 20 media articles about its opening.
So what if I said to you right now then?
Oh, mate, your questions are getting me hot and heavy here. Put the aircon on, bruv.
What if I said to you right now that you're leaving money on the table in other areas because at the end of the day, you're at the same position right now?
I could not agree more with you. I am not expanding at the level, at the speed in which I need to give people Milky Lane. When I go onto our social media, man, we have so much demand in areas that I can't even get to right now. And I'm like, what does that look like?
I think
you got another one here. Bro, you are getting me good.
I'm going to give you a piece of paper. I'm going to write out what I think are the next moves in terms of it. But for me, it's like, from looking at it from an outside perspective, it's like, I'm because I've got all the manuals set up now and I've got all the systems in place and I've got all the process and I've proven it at this kind of level. I'm thinking to myself, right, I need key stakeholders in X, Y, Z locations.
Yep. I've already got that.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's something I haven't spoken about. I've got master franchises. So over in WA, I've got one guy who owns all of WA.
Right.
So he brought like an area developer agreement. He's also the guy that's doing Bali.
Right. So this is good, right? So you've franchised it for a few stores first, and then you've got master franchisees in terms of like in the key state areas.
The best situation for me is happy, successful franchisees that own 4 or 5 stores each.
Right. Okay. Same what GYG did.
Yeah, bro. Like, I'm encouraging people within the network to purchase more stores. I'm making it attractive for them because this guy over in WA, right, I thought, if he opens one in Perth, like, do you understand the manpower and human resources it takes for me to manage his stores in Perth?
But he can manage all of it.
He can run his own network.
Yeah.
He pays me less royalties, which is fine. He pays me half royalties, paid a fee up front, and he owns essentially the Milky Lane brand on paper over in WA. Now, he is such an incredible operator, like ridiculous. His stores are just fantastic. So we spoke the other week and I'm like, do you want Melbourne? He's like, yeah, I'll take Melbourne. So I'm like, okay, cool. So what does that look like for you? He goes, well, I'll relocate from the West Coast to Melbourne next year and I'll start to roll out Melbourne. It's been so strange that we haven't done Melbourne. I've done Bendigo, which is a regional town, an hour and a half out of Melbourne. It was like, why haven't you done Melbourne? And I said, because the standard of food and beverage in Melbourne is so high. And I feel like Melbourne's cliquey. Their burger scene is really, like, it's pretty underground and it's top level. Yeah. So I thought if we go in there, right, guns blazing, just, full of ourselves, and we miss anything, we're going to get thrown to the wolves and we'll get sent home.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't feel like there's any second chances in Melbourne. You know, you can destroy it with one store because people have been waiting so long, Frankie, that it's almost it's a blessing and a curse for us that we are a unicorn online because people have such high hopes and such high expectations.
I mean, the bullet points that I was thinking of in my head wasn't like in terms of this country. It's like you can create such a buzz in places like LA, Miami, Dubai before even going there. Before you even go there, you can create that, and you've got the social media presence to be able to leverage it and do it. And the images and the reps and the systems and processes slide into these locations. It's like to me, it's like it just has to be fucking done. Yeah. Like I see it in my head.
So do I. I literally envision it all the time.
Yeah,
I think that the menu, the food, the offering,
just works, bro.
Everything, bro. It was literally built for it, and we get people travel from all around the world. They're like, "How do I get this in my country, man?"
What I want people to take away from this podcast is the fact of like the ability to make viral, shareable content was created from the conception of this brand. And I want you guys to think when you're creating your brands, how can we build in the inner virality of what we do into, you know, be able to create content with this from the start? Because if you start a brand with that narrative, now that allows you to scale.
And you don't need millions of dollars for marketing, man. We didn't spend a cent.
Yeah.
It was all organic, everything. We were pulling 20,000 comments on Facebook photos.
Well, Tesla doesn't have a marketing department either, you know.
You're joking.
No marketing department at Tesla.
It creates stuff that people genuinely want to see.
Because Elon just gets on stage, hits the screws.
I've seen that. The window shatters it, and then that's it.
But it's on all the front. But he's like, that's how you get on the news.
Yeah, man.
That's how you get on the news. It's like capture attention. I'm glad you explained that the franchise part. I really wanted to get that out for people. I love to end the podcast on these kind of questions because I think
what have you got for me now?
I love to end every podcast like this. So if you had to check out the world tomorrow and there's nothing you can leave, you can't leave the brand, nothing, but you can just leave like one pearl of wisdom for every member of this audience right now that's listening to this.
You haven't.
That moves them all 1% forward from today. What would that be to you?
Too many, bro. You know, the most cliche one is don't stop. You know, the ones that people normally come up with.
There's something deeper within you that you.
There is.
I want to hear that. I want to hear that.
You've got me here, bro.
Nah, I haven't.
You have because it's just. What is it? I should have this. I don't know, bro. You got me at the end.
No, you have it. I'm happy to wait. You have it.
Just one thing.
For
business.
No. To move them forward in their life from today. One thing. Yeah. From all the years.
Oh, man. I don't know, bro. For me, they're different across business, across personal, across, you know.
Give me the business and the personal.
For me, for personal life, man, and people say it's like, be kind, man. Kindness beats everything. It trumps over everything in the end. You know what I mean? In my business, I'm ruthless, but I have compassion. You know what I mean? And I think that people have forgotten to be kind, man. People think that it's weak. And I don't think it's weak at all. So that's something I will always choose. Even if I'm into, you know, somebody's disrespecting me, I won't tolerate it, but I'm like, I won't retaliate.
Love that.
I think, you know, in business, and everyone says it, but if you believe it will happen, it will happen. Everybody told me I couldn't do this. Everybody told me in Milky Lane won't work. Even people that I am friends with, to say to me now, like, bro, we didn't really want to say much to you, but you entered the most heavily saturated industry in the world. It was when burgers were just everywhere. They're like, you can't make a burger place work. No, if you believe in your concept and you keep trying every single day and surround yourself with good people, you will succeed.
Are you proud of yourself?
You know what? I never used to be because I made a lot of bad decisions. And I always remember that people would tell me they were proud of me, and the one person that wouldn't, even though he was my best friend, was my dad. And I still remember the first time that he said to me, and it was a few years into Milky Lane, and I talked to him every day. And one day on the phone, as we're getting off the phone, he went, "I'm proud of you." I just reached that fucking pinnacle. I just reached the highest level.
Is that something you felt since a child you're always looking for?
Oh man, I wanted to make him proud because I was so proud of the man that he was. So I'm like, if I can emulate that and I can become a fraction of that man, and it's what I say to him, man, I'm like, if I can be 10% of the husband and father that you were, I'm successful.
It's amazing, isn't it, when all said and done, and we're coming to the end of this podcast, when all said and done, what success is to you is about being a good husband and a good father, not money, not anything else.
Money buys me things that I think will make me feel good. That I think will make me feel good. That's why people buy things, because they think it's going to make them feel a certain way. There's no other reason. And then they find out that it doesn't really make me feel that way anymore. The amount of people that you and I both would know that have got every car you could imagine, every car under the sun, and they say to you, "I walk past it and kick the tyre now, and it's just another piece of metal in the garage." For me, success and happiness comes from human connection and making people and my family proud of me. And for them to just, my mum says it to me all the time. She's like, "I'm so proud of you, son." And I'm like, that's it.
I bet if I asked Adrian Portelli right now what his best achievement in life is, I think it would be more to do now with having, a nice missus and his little one.
I was literally going to say for him, it would have transfixed to having his son.
Yeah.
It's nothing beats it. If we don't have that, all these people that go, "I want to grow old alone. I want to be a 50-year-old playboy. I don't need a man." I'm like, we need each other, man. Men and women need each other.
I was literally in a conversation with a really nice woman the other week. Really nice girl, like she's spectacular, but she's, because of the people she was around at the time, they've talked her into this open relationship culture. They've talked her into this not having children culture. It's like, but that as a woman, as a woman, like you're not meant to be fucking everybody under the sun. You're just not. It's not what. It's just not, bro. It's not really. And then you're meant to want to probably have children. Like it's what I'm saying is people are creating normality out of things that really shouldn't be seen as normal.
I couldn't agree more. And this whole men don't need women don't need men thing.
We need each other.
What the most beautiful harmonic situation is when we both realise we do.
Yeah.
And we both we'll work to our superpowers and our strengths, because we have superpowers and strengths. There's a lot of things that my partner can do that I sure as heck can't do, let me tell you. And there's some things that I can do that she can't do. And some women might not want to hear that, but I'm saying equally, I can't do everything that a woman can do. And we need to stop fighting, bro.
We need to stop saying that it's like, it's this men or women thing, like and it's like it's a competition. It's not.
Man's world, it's not a woman's world.
It's literally you need the unit. The unit is how you have success. If I study success, and I study success on this podcast, the people that are the most connected, the people that have the best of it all, in terms of like maybe they've achieved something monetarily, not as much as someone else, but like the full wholeness package that I consider. They have the healthy relationship. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I want that for my own life. I want to have the beautiful woman and eventually have the children and stuff. But I can't force the issue right now.
No,
I can't as a man. So all I'm doing as a man is I'm going out in the pursuit of my best self.
Yep.
I'm going to go full send it.
Yeah.
And I believe that person identifies you and goes, right, cool, he's going in the right direction, I resonate with him, I want to get on his mission, and they get on your mission, right?
Mate, you literally nailed it. I like his mission, let's get on it together. I've got my thing, he's got his, and we're going to just make it work.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and don't, all this bullshit where people go out and you go looking for women, like, as a man, that's what a stupid idea that is. Like, have you seen, right, let me tell you this, right, before we go to this podcast, right? When I look back at my younger days, every woman that I went looking for, just because she was hot and I went looking for her, I got fucking burned, man. You do not go looking for anything. You become the character that attracts that into your life.
I was reading something about that the other week.
Yeah.
And one of my mates said to me, he's like, mate, I can't find a girl. And I said, how's everything else going in your life? It's fucking shambles. I said, well, figure that out first, brother. Make some money. Make some money. Become a strong man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Become a man that keeps his word, he's loyal, he's honest, you know, and make some money so you can look after your girl when you find her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't say, you know, look after her because she can't, but you like to do that.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, you know what? You're right. And I said, you're not in a position for it right now anyway. Yeah. Even if you found one, it ain't going to work.
Yeah.
So become that man that
can step
a woman
into,
has no option but to be drawn to.
Just step
and
into
become a woman that we're drawn to.
Yeah. And it's right. And there's parts that both the male and the female have to play in creating the character that the other person is attracted to.
Mate, couldn't agree more.
But more so in the traditional role sense, because
I love traditional role
because
sense, man.
because the traditional role sense is something that is very attractive. So let's just break that down just quickly. Like, you know, it's only for the last 20 to 25 years that the world has been like in this highly promiscuous bubble of everyone doing what we're doing, right? Yeah. And that before that time wasn't that, and it all worked better before that. I just think we all need to.
I think it did, man.
We all need to remember that you know, everything that we're seeing right now, this day, that only happened in the last 25 years.
Yeah, this is all fucked up now. We all think this is the way it's meant to be.
It's not, but it's not.
It's not.
It's not at all. And we've all been duped. But that's
if you go back to those core principles of like masculinity, of like, you know, provision, protection, you know what I mean? It's being a strong leader, you know what I mean? And this is what women are. I feel that they're attracted to.
But women are also strong characters, but they're strong in different elements.
Couldn't agree more.
So my mum and my father are both strong
definitely.
characters, but they're strong in their essence of the roles that they're meant to be playing within that relationship. And if they didn't have that dynamic and they didn't play that roles and they didn't fit into those traditional roles, it just wouldn't work. But that's why they've been married nearly 50 fucking years, because that. And do you know how much stability that created for me as a child?
And they understand, you know, what their strengths are.
But do you know
I'm not good at a lot of stuff, man. And someone else compliments that, and I'm like, thank God you're there, because that's not my thing.
But isn't it beautiful how much stability you can create for a child in that environment if your parents do the traditional roles? What I'm saying is, if all of us want to create...
if we've ruffled anyone.
No. All I'm saying is that if all of us want to go out and create legacy, create businesses that make lots of money and do all the stuff and be this big character, if we don't create the traditional roles, then just understand that our children are going to be facing we're going to create all this trauma and carry on trauma. Yep. Whereas we have a choice right now of how we're going to turn up. I'm not trying to get on any like red pill stuff.
That's all good, bro. I can go on for weeks with this. But
we'll leave it there. But I'm just saying, like, you know, have a little thought process.
Men and women are equally beautiful and important.
Equally beautiful, equally strong, but in different areas.
Couldn't agree
and there's
more.
Nothing wrong with that. That's my end point.
There's nothing wrong with
that.
There's
nothing wrong with that.
That's the final word.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like the fact that you're strong in an area that I can't even fucking do.
And a woman's intuition, mate,
is
bang on.
So here's what I know someone who's worth 500 million, and he said to me, if his missus feels the deal ain't right, he doesn't do the deal, and her intuition has never been fucking wrong. Right now,
they can see shit we can't.
Yeah, of course they can, because they got this feeling and that we can't have.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
why you need why you need a woman on your team. That's why it needs to be a team event. It's not this men against women bullshit that everyone tells you it is.
I hate that world.
Yeah,
man.
like,
we're not fighting each other.
No, we're not. We're not here to fight each other.
We can't do anything. We're without you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So can we just be friends and get along, please?
Bring them into
but
your...
I think for the most part that is still there. It just gets skewed a little bit.
It's just skewed,
in these roles. But mate, that was so much fun, Frankie.
I love it, mate. And thank you very much for coming on the show, brother. I appreciate you dropping.
Hopefully we did okay.
I think we dropped a marathon. I don't even know how long it is, but
coming on 3 hours.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope you got lots of information about, you know, scaling brands, creating viral content, how you can put yourself out there to the marketplace more, and how you can build that from the day you start your business. Also how to franchise it, everything else. I hope it's all in here for you. I tried to give it a full set. end. And I appreciate every single one of you listening. Share this on every platform you can. Put this in as many people's ears as possible. And as always, much love. If you thought that video was good, why don't you press this one here? Go on, give that a little tickle.